We are now live. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Good morning, Board of Commissioners and the citizens of Douglas County. Welcome to our Monday, February 28, 2022, 10 o'clock a.m. virtual Zoom meeting. It is our work session this morning. I'll start with roll call. I'll start with the District 1 Commissioner Henry Mitchell III.
Present.
District 2 and Vice Chairman Kelly Robinson.
Present.
District 3 Commissioner Terenia Carthen.
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Ann Jones-Guider.
Present.
Ramona Jackson-Jones, Chairman, present. Board of Commissioners, we do have a quorum this morning. Clerk, do we have anyone sign up for public comment?
Yes, ma'am. We had 2 citizens that signed up for public comment.
Okay.
And before I call on the citizens, I'll just remind you, you have 3 minutes to address the board. Once your 3 minutes are up, please, I will let you know to wrap up your comments. And when I call on you, please go ahead and restate your name and your address for the record. So the first person that signed up is Miss Sharon Bachtel. Miss Bachtel, are you on the line? If you're muted, hit *6.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is Sharon Bachtel, 6331 South Skyline Drive, District 3. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just had some comments and questions about discussions that I've heard in the January and February meetings. First, in the January Transportation Committee meeting, I heard that several unused vans are sitting idle. The conversation was that they might be offered to businesses. My question is, where is the transportation for the disadvantaged, disabled, and elderly who reside in Districts 3 and 4? Why are businesses prioritized over those in need? Why can't the vans be used for dial-a-ride service in Districts 3 and 4? My second comment is about the budget. I say this every year, your budget process is wrong. You present to the public only 18 hours before the public hearing a budget that is $1 million less than what you're allowed to spend according to policy. The public thinks you're saving money. After the public hearing, you add $1 million for wants, not needs, such as the $150,000 to 3 commissioners for extra personal expenses, of which $20,000 will be spent on Facebook upkeep. Now all allowable revenues are assigned. 2 weeks later, you come back with another $1 million in additional expenses, including items that were cut out before the original budget. This would make your budget $1 million over the previous year's revenues and violates your policy. I guess you think by revisiting these items in April, your overspending will be overlooked. Just like that extra $400,000 that was promised to the tax commissioner in April. I also wanted to speak about the contract for advertising SPLOST. First, I would like to hear from the procurement director or Chairwoman Jones an explanation on why this $175,000 SPLOST contract was special and not bid out. I just want facts. Second, when did you make your resolution to put SPLOST on the ballot? How can you hire someone to advertise something you haven't voted on yet? Kind of like putting the cart before the horse. Why do you think the citizens need to be educated on SPLOST? SPLOST has been state law since 1985. SPLOST tax is not new to Douglas County. We have been paying SPLOST tax for the last 18 years at least. The commissioner reminds us all of the time how our SPLOST dollars were wasted on a jail. It is sad that the commission thinks the citizens of Douglas County are uneducated. This $175,000 contract is a good example of wasting our tax dollars. This is $175,000 that could be used to fix our potholed roads. Needs come before wants. The taxpayers are tired of paying for the unnecessary wants of this commission. Prioritize needs and cut wasteful spending. We are tired of being overtaxed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bachtel.
And thank you so much, Ms. Bachel. I want to weigh in a little bit, Lisa, on this one. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Ms. Bachel. Look forward to certainly again the meeting that I've requested with you so we could talk online, offline, whatever you so choose. I'm excited about the moment. You had a question for me, and I'm always available to answer any question you have for me. Certainly, we are continuing to look at our fiscal policy reform, and it's quite effective. We've been actually with budgets for the last 5 years revisiting the budgets every April since I've been in office, because that's a strategy that it was never done before. That's when the overspending occurred. We're waiting to see if we're going to exceed the expectations of what we plan in terms of revenue, and most likely we will, like we've always done in the past. So I look forward to our meeting. Clerk, if you could reach out to Ms. Batchel, I'm still waiting on that meeting, and certainly as this pandemic is releasing itself and becoming it's much milder now, I welcome the opportunity to meet with you in person. So with that being said, certainly clerk, tell me who's next, and I look forward to meeting with you, Ms. Batchel. It'll be an honor. Lisa, who do you
Yes,
have?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have Mr. Levon Dixon.
Okay.
Mr. Dixon, are you on the line yet?
I'm still here.
Okay, if you could just restate your name and your subject matter and your address. And again, you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. And once those 3 minutes are up, if you could wrap up your comments. Thank you. You can go
Sure.
ahead.
No problem. I have two issues, and these issues have been ongoing. Hopefully, I will be extended the same courtesy as the previous caller from the standpoint. I've been stating these issues for months and months, and I've never had a comment. I've never been offered a follow-up call, or none of commissioners have ever responded in any context in emails that I've sent out with questions that I've had from that standpoint. So hopefully my Chairman Commissioner Jackson Jones and my Commissioner Kelly Robinson will extend me the same courtesy as the previous caller. And I do appreciate the previous caller's comments. They were very well founded from that standpoint. But like I said, I would like to extend the same courtesy. I own a home in Kelly Robinson's district. District is the address of the home that I own is 3012 Creek Bend Overlook. From that standpoint, my issues are twofold. One on this HOA issue that I've been addressing for extended period of time. This is first of all, I'd like to comment on it. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to any commissioners out there. So this is not, my comments are not applicable to you if it doesn't pertain to you in that context. But my HOA issues, this is something that's been problematic, to my understanding, in Douglasville, Douglas County, for years to predate my issue. This is something that's been ongoing for a very long period of time. My HOA management company assessed thousands of dollars of fines to me for alleged letters that were sent to the home that was never received. From that standpoint, you have actually no recourse to address this in any context. From that standpoint, they're using these fines and fees to foreclose on homes in that context as well. And my question is this: this has been happening for so long, and nothing has actually been done about it. I'm just very curious. This is a multi-million-dollar scheme that's being perpetrated on homeowners. From that standpoint, if you look at what was assessed to me, which was total probably about $13,000 to $14,000 in fines and fees, if you extrapolate that out to maybe 50 to 100 homeowners, you're getting into the millions of dollars of just erroneous fines and fees that are being assessed to homeowners, and nothing's being done about it. I'm just curious, and I've sent this question out to several people just to ask: are county commissioners or representatives or the family members or friends of families, are they allowed to purchase these homes on the foreclosure market for pennies on the dollar after they've been foreclosed on by HOAs? Or is that kind of outlawed from a public service standpoint? I would love to get the answer to that question, see if that's legal for county commissioners, their families, or friends, or representatives to purchase these homes once they've been foreclosed on. I'm just curious as to why this has continued to exist. I know my commissioner, Kelly Robinson, does something called HOA boot camp, and he stated there was some type of reform or commentary he's going to present a few weeks ago. I've never seen anything come from him regarding the issue. He doesn't seem to be very concerned about it at all in any context. My second issue is actually with the water issue, which is the origin of my conflict with my HOA. From that standpoint,
Mr. Dixon,
yes.
I'm going to need you to wrap up your comments, please.
Okay. Well, my commissioner has been out to my house on a couple occasions, and seems like they spent more expenses coming out to view the problem than it actually cost to fix the issue. There's one other comment that my state senator, Donzella James, a representative from her office, contacted the commissioner to try to address this issue, and she felt that her interaction with him was so combative and so unprofessional that she felt compelled to contact Chairwoman Jackson Jones about the issue. I've had similar experiences with my Commissioner Kelly Robinson about disrespectful nature for the people who actually, my taxes and actually pay for these services from that standpoint. I'm trying to figure out, is there any recourse or any actions, corrective actions, Chairwoman Jackson Jones, that you addressed with this commissioner about his behavior, about his interaction with his constituencies from that standpoint? I've experienced this on multiple occasions, and I'm sure y'all as colleagues, y'all very familiar with interaction with this individual. So I would like some context on that, and I would welcome the opportunity to have a follow-up conversation with Ms. Jackson Jones about it, the same offer that she extended to the previous caller. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dixon.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, Vice Chair, you have the floor.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. To Mr. Dixon, your continued narrative is once again misdirected. The HOA boot camp is not designed to solve your personal issue. It's designed to educate the public at large on the fundamentals associated with home ownership and working within the size in the context of a covenant. As you know, the HOA is a civil matter. Civil. Board of Commissioner, state rep, or a U.S. Senator have all stated we cannot, through our power, get involved. You have to take that up within the courts. You coming on here constantly doesn't change the facts and the law. The narrative is false. Now, we're doing things we can do to try to create a mechanism that allows people to mediate, which we said. We take that up when we take it up, not when you want us to. We have to work with other agencies, other constitutional officers, and it's on their calendar. Please respect the process. Coming out and helping you with your situation is something that we're pretty much almost done with. I won't do it now, just not going to give the moment. But it's already scheduled to be addressed and asked for. Already approved by the chair. This is just conjecture, narrative. It's unfortunate to try to frame the very person who has helped you. It's unfortunate. I'm sure everybody who's watching this story understands, well, he's the only one that's advocating for you. He's the only one that's actually fighting for you. But that's my job. I appreciate your comments. I'm going to leave it at that. Madam Chair, let's move on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Board of Commissioners, Clerk, do we have anyone else? If you could just scan the virtual meeting and make sure we don't have anyone else sign up, and then we'll move on.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I did not have anyone else sign in, but if there are any other citizens on the line that would like to speak this morning, please go ahead and acknowledge right now. Chairman being none, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Clerk Watson. Board of Commissioners, we're going to move right on. We have a presentation this morning. I've asked, I know it's been a while since we had an opportunity to display what's going on in all the various departments or divisions. And I'm starting off with Animal Services today, and then I'm going to start the process again to allow the directors to come before you and report what's going on in their various departments. Certainly, before we bring Director Vanessa Franchowski up, Board of Commissioners, you have the approval of the minutes tomorrow, so I ask that you review the minutes and then all the minutes in work session, special call meetings, and executive session minutes, and be prepared to approve or deny accordingly tomorrow. Board of Commissioners, with no further ado, I will bring before us this morning our Animal Services Director, Vanessa Franchowski, will be providing you all with a brief update of what's going on in Animal Services. Director Franchowski, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Good morning to Board of Commissioners, Deputy County Administrator Perry, and all the staff. Happy Monday. Thank you for giving me this opportunity today to go ahead and just give you a brief update on Animal Services. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Animal Services, I'm going to give you an oversight of what it is that we do here at Animal Services. All right, next screen, please. All right, so we have a new mission statement here. Douglas County Animal Services upholds a commitment to excellence in animal welfare by giving a voice to the voiceless, promoting responsible pet ownership through community engagement, spay-neuter awareness, and ordinance enforcement. We pledge to be advocates for all animals in Douglas County. Okay, this will also go on to the information I provided at the budget retreat. We are an education before enforcement. We do want to educate the public and the citizens on the laws and the ordinances here in Douglas County before we do enforce. So, you know, it's hard to enforce something if people aren't aware of the rules and the ordinances here in Douglas County. Next screen, please. So what we do here, so we educate, we advocate, and we participate. You'll see on our first picture, we educate, and we have one of our shelter pets with their harness and their leash on for Adopt Me with the leash law ordinance sign as well. You know, again, we are all about education. We want to make sure that the county, the citizens, everybody understands that these ordinances are meant to protect. We're here to serve the public. They go hand in hand. We just want to make sure everybody's aware of what we're doing here. Advocate. So going back to our mission statement, giving a voice to the voiceless. We advocate for those without voices, our animals. This picture in particular is Fuddy, one of our dogs that came into us pregnant. She had 11 puppies, whereas she would have died on the streets trying to give birth had we not intervened. This is what we do. We're healers. We try to take care of all of our animals. We advocate for them. Then our last screen is participate. So we work with a ton of different organizations here. This one happened to be the Girl Scouts, who donated over $500 worth of leashes. They built a dog house for us. We want to work with as many community organizations as we can to do partnerships. Next screen, please. All right, before we get started on this video, I do want to give you a warning. There's no blood, no guts, anything like that. But a lot of people, when they look at animal services, they have the misnomer that we're just playing with animals. There is so much more behind the scenes that people don't realize. So I wanted to take this video and show it to you guys. This video is of a dog named Phoenix. This happened a few years ago. We got a call on a very bad cruelty and a welfare situation. Myself and Officer Langley ended up going out and pulling this dog from a very bad situation. Had we not intervened that same day, this dog would have been dead. So if you want to go ahead, Rick, with the video, and I'll do some more talking after that. So in this video, Phoenix is at Westside Animal Emergency Center. What you're seeing now is a cruelty. This dog had been starved 4 months at a time. This is what we see daily. This is what comes into our doors. This dog was hanging in, you know, just literally by the thread of life. Had we not intervened again, he would have been dead by the end of the day. And he went through numerous blood transfusions. We did prosecute charges on this owner. you know, it's unfortunate. We don't want to see these things, but this is the reality of what we see at our services, animal services. Rick, will you go to the next one, please? This is Phoenix now, okay? This is what dedication, perseverance, and success is measured through us, okay? This dog spent the better part of the year with us in rehab, just getting medical treatments. He was adopted out by a wonderful family who has given him a forever home, and he's just the best boy ever. This is what we strive to do. This is what we look forward at the end of the day. When we see the worst of the worst, we look at cases like Phoenix to give us hope, and that's how we measure our success. All right, next slide, please. All right, now this one is going into public safety because we are officers for public safety. All right, a lot of people don't understand that we are called to do multiple officer assists daily. These officer assists could be on homicides, welfare checks, evictions, and domestic violence, right? We see them all. Normally, we're the ones that go in to go ahead and clear a house after the deputies have gone in and cleared it from any victims, whatnot. We go in there to remove animals so that the coroner can go ahead and do their portion of the job, so that detectives can do their portion. Numerous times there's animals on site. So we go in there and we see all sorts of different things, but we're there to go ahead and clear the animals out so that the other officers can go in there safely. For other areas, we deal with dog attacks, dog on dog, dogs on humans. Welfare concerns, this can include dogs and cats and livestock. Leash law violations, barking dogs, animal cruelty, dog on dog attacks, livestock at large. We deal with Department of Agriculture investigations and code enforcement investigations. The 4 pictures that you're seeing right now, and like I said, I'm trying to keep it so that nobody gets sick or anything. You know, this is a small scale of what we've seen. This lady was attacked by her own dog. This was a 200-pound cane corso. She was attacked so badly, they took her straight to Grady trauma. And it took 5 officers to go ahead and remove this dog from the house because it was a serious threat. Had we not intervened and gotten this animal, she would have lost her life. And she does not have use of her left arm at this point at all. So this is what we see as a public safety standpoint. It is not just leash law violations. We're there to go ahead and protect citizens from dogs that can do this kind of damage to them. Right, next slide, please. So things that you should know about those working in the animal welfare world. Again, there is a misnomer that what we do is we play with kittens and puppies all day. And in a perfect world, we love doing that. But we see the best of what people are, and we see the worst of what people can do to animals. In our field, animal care workers are 2 to 10 times higher than the general population to take their life by suicide. Okay, compassion fatigue is the most reported clinical diagnosis for those in the animal welfare world. Resources such as counseling, team building, and risk assessments should be considered for every team member in this field. I've already done portions of this where I've had a grief counselor come out here and speak with my staff during COVID because we were isolated from the general public more so than normal. And this kind of gave them some avenues to talk to different counselors, reach out and seek support through their peers. We also do little events here at the shelter with the staff, such as movie nights, awards nights, things like that to go ahead and keep their spirits high. And also it helps us keep a focus on our peers. If we notice something's not going on, you know, we notice a lack of care for them, we're going to intervene and make sure that they're okay and get them the proper care. All right, next slide, please. So here's our shelter status update for today. Residents in care, and it didn't show up on here. We have 165 animals in our care right now. We have 137 dogs and 22 cats in our building. Our capacity for care is slowly starting to get to that number, 180. 180 is where we are no longer comfortable bringing in more animals to the building because then we are not following our rules by Department of Agriculture, all right? An employee status right now, I have 8 animal control officers that are all full-time. I have 8 full-time kennel technicians with 2 part-time kennel technicians and 1 resource coordinator. As far as the building updates, fire alarm repairs have been completed as of January. They are now fully functioning and working. The sprinkler inspection and repairs are expected to be complete on 3/15/2022. Everything has been inspected and repaired. We're missing one gauge that is on order, so that should be taken care as well. Repairs to the damaged ceilings and vents, including repainting of the building, is expected to be completed by 3/15/2022. We did get our ballistic vests. They were received on 2/23. We have some new officers that will be scheduled to be fitted on 3/3. Security camera quotes are being obtained for the building security. I'm working with Deputy County Administrator Perry on those. We will be working with Mr. Worthington as well. Next slide, please. And for our very last slide, I want to see the best for last. On Saturday, we hosted District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson's vaccine initiative. This was an overwhelming success. We served 204 citizens, okay? And this is individuals. We implanted 251 microchips, cats and dogs. We vaccinated 266 dogs against distemper parvo and 47 cats against feline upper respiratory infections. We received a total of $635.72 worth of donations that we normally wouldn't have expected. This was, again, an overwhelming success. We went with so many citizens that were thankful. They had lost family members to COVID and their animals were lacking in vaccines that they just couldn't afford. We took care of them. A lot of them were asking about the rabies vaccine, so we directed them to the March 26th event. We are going to get threefold what we saw on Saturday going to the district event. I expect nothing less of probably 400 people showing up. It is overwhelming. The people were so grateful for this opportunity. They're very thankful for the Board of Commissioners to host these events. Again, we have plenty of vaccines, plenty of microchips. You'll get to meet some local veterinarians on the 26th and some other animal welfare agencies. It looks to be just a great event. Right. That concludes my presentation. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Director Frankowski. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions for our director regarding her presentation? She just primarily wanted to give an update, let us know what the census numbers look like at the center, and also just talk about all the innovative things that are going on in our areas. Are there any questions or comments? And Vice Chairman Robinson, congratulations on your successful event. I know the animals are happy, and you have the floor, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, to Madam Director, while I was not there for obviously conflict, I have to give credit to Wendy Carter, my legislative aide, to help coordinate that with you. And you guys rocked. To my peers, they killed it. It's really about staff. Did an excellent job. Everything from coordinating logistically, keeping it flowing. I mean, that's a lot of people in that period of time. It's my understanding they were there again early in the morning when she opened up at 6 o'clock. They were already in line, and so there was a need. But your execution, Director, this was your idea, not Commissioner Robinson. It had nothing to do with me. And I appreciate you about getting out there and taking government to the people. And I commend you and your staff. It seems like you got your handle on this. You are doing well, assessing your staff. They're motivated. Guys, this was your drive up. And again, I'm impressed. Now that was execution. And as a new director, I appreciate that you've got it. Keep going in what you're doing, making us proud. We know that over the animal shelter tends to be removed. If you need anything ever, I'm sure all the Board of Commissioners would be open. If there's ever anything that you may need or advocacy for, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We know you have a chain of command, but nonetheless, we know how important that those animals are to the parents that exist. And we know about that, the lobby associated with that, and we respect them highly. So anyway, I just want to get that comment, and I'm sure that event was very successful. I'm sure the other ones out in the other commissioner districts will go just as well. Madam Chair, thank you for allowing me to make my comments. I yield the floor.
Thank you so much, Vice Chairman. Any other comments, Board of Commissioners? All right, thank you so much, Director. Commissioner Guyton, you have the floor.
Couldn't unmute. Yes, Director. When you host an event like this, what's required of the host, and who pays for the shots and everything? Does the host actually pay for that?
So with the Petco Love, we actually got a grant. So this grant pays for everything, okay? So the vaccines that we distribute are paid for by Petco Love, so they're free. The only vaccine that we do not get is the rabies vaccine. We do have to provide that just because by law, veterinarian has to go ahead and give that vaccine. But the distemper vaccine, the upper respiratory vaccine, and even the microchips are all covered through the Petco Love Grant. We can order 1 million of them and they would still be free to the county. Okay.
So if I wanted to host one in District 4, I can get with you.
Absolutely. And that is the goal for this year. The goal is we are going to go ahead and hit every district individually, and we'll be targeting areas within your district that are high need. If there's a high poverty level, high disabled area, or those that just can't get to a normal, vet clinic, we're going to target those areas, and it'll be either like at a church, a park, some kind of event or an avenue so that people can get to us relatively quickly. And again, it's all free.
Okay, I'll get offline with you about District 4. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Vader. Any other comments, Board? Thank you, Director Kowski. Thank you so much. All right, Board of Commissioners, we're going to move on to our next item on the agenda, which would be tab 5 and 6. We have 2 proclamations tomorrow. One proclamation, which is tab number 5, is proclaiming the month of March as Arts, Culture, and Humanities Month in Douglas County. And Emily Leitner, the Executive Director of the Culture, the CAC, should I say, will be reading this proclamation. And then tab number 6 is proclaiming the month of March as Women's History Month in Douglas County. And this proclamation will be read by Mrs. Nia Brown. Board of Commissioners, certainly before we go, well, I'll first of all yield to our Deputy County Administrator to see if you have any business to bring before us this morning. Deputy County Administrator, do you have anything?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I'm struggling to get off mute here. I don't have anything, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Board of Commissioners, before we move into our business items, I wanted to take the time to introduce 2 of our new managers to you because they will be presenting this morning on behalf of our Assistant County Administrator who is not available today simply because of some personal reasons. So I certainly would like to introduce, first of all, I have Dr. Michelle Allen, who is our Intergovernmental Affairs Manager, and she serves on our Assistant County Administrator team. And then also we have Miss Jill Hobson, who's our new Grants Oversight Manager. So they are here today, and when I get to their tabs, they will be presenting. So I didn't want you to have a surprise this morning, but they are representing their boss, who is Tiffany Stewart-Standard, who could not be here this morning because of personal reasons. And thank you. Board of Commissioners, I'm going to move to tab number 7. And certainly, if you and Jill and Michelle, if y'all both could turn your cameras back on for a second, certainly want to allow you all to have a few words, just speak to the Board of Commissioners and introduce yourselves. And I know our Assistant County Administrator would have loved to have this moment to do it, but we'll talk, that's something that I can't discuss this morning due to HIPAA. So I will start with you, Jill Hobson, who's our Manager of Grants, and if you could just introduce yourself to the board and just say hello and to the citizens of Douglas County, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners and Douglas County. I am Jill Hobson. I have worked for the county for 20 years and done grants for about 10 in the juvenile court. I look forward to working on more grants for the county and building our capacity for more funding.
Thank you so much, Manager Hobson. Dr. Michelle Allen, certainly if you would introduce yourself to the board as well, and the citizens of Douglas County.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dr. Michelle Allen. I am the Intergovernmental Affairs Manager for Douglas County for our division. And I'd just like to say I'm very happy to be here and I look forward to moving Douglas County forward.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our business items, which is tab number 7. Board of Commissioners, we have an approval of a contract with Gordian to complete site work for the Department of Driver Services facility in the amount of $1,774,660 and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Director Worthington. You have
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is a long-awaited time here. I've been looking forward to getting this on the agenda. So, as you said, this is an agreement with Gordian to complete the Department of Driver Services facility, the site work, and I'll give some background. Sometime back, the county had agreed to work in conjunction with Driver Services to provide a facility in Douglas County for the citizens. And it's a training facility and a renewal facility. And part of the agreement was for the county to provide the site work on a parcel ready to be built on for the DDS to build the actual building. So part of that, we worked through an agreement last year and kind of laid out who was going to do which portions of the construction and all. And then the state DDS had hired a design team to go through the design of this. We received those plans, the finalized design, in December. And unfortunately, that same week was when our previous procurement director resigned. So we had to kind of look for some different options to keep the ball moving. So we ended up going with the EasyIQC system, which is a Gordian-based procurement plan. The EasyIQC is available through Georgia Department of Administrative Services statewide convenience contract. And essentially, it's like a state contract unit pricing for site work. Actually, you can do it for a lot of things. It's not uncommon. We've done it before. I know the city of Douglasville's done it. The Douglasville Board of Education's doing it with Gordian right now. Basically, we were assigned a contractor who has been vetted by the state, and it's FH Paskin. And the bids that we receive are already competitively priced. And we received that bid last week, and the initial bid was $1,774,000. We started reviewing that immediately last week and working with the state and the contractor. We found a few things that we're able to alleviate, and I have a revised bid, which you do not have yet, but I've got a revised bid for $1,720,000. And then I also met with Driver Services on Thursday of last week, and the design team, which is their civil and their architectural group, and the state, Georgia State Properties representative. They had designed a wall across the back of this property right along the I-20 corridor. And it's an extremely long wall. It's approximately 500 feet long. And we all kind of agreed it was unnecessary. They had plenty of extra room to eliminate the wall and just grade it like normal. So everyone agreed we could eliminate that wall. And the savings is expected to be around $300,000. So that's going to bring the estimated price down to $1,420,000. Now, the way the contracts are written, they're unit price, so we can proceed as is, and by not putting that in, that the wall will just be backed out like a deductive change order. So we don't have to wait to get the plans redrawn and get a new quote. We can continue on. And I have verified this with Gordian, with FH Paskin, and with DDS, and everybody agrees we're good to go. As far as the budget goes, there was $650,000 allotted in the 2021 capital fund. There is $800,000 unassigned in the 2022 capital fund. And at the pleasure of the board, we could combine those two together. That would be $1.45 million, which would be enough to cover everything. The contractor is likely to be able to start within they said probably like 3 weeks, so we can get moving on this pretty quick. And as soon as this is approved, if it's approved, we'll start working on a groundbreaking ceremony, because I know everyone's ready to get this going. So, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Managing Director James Worthington. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions for Director Worthington? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing the good news this morning.
Yeah, that's right.
Tab number 8, Board of Commissioners, we have with us Katrina Hartley, who is our new E911 director, and I'm not sure if I introduced her at the last meeting, but I want to make sure I do it again. We can circle back. How are you doing this morning, Director Harlan?
I am well, Madam Chair. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and welcome, and so excited about you. I didn't know if you want to just say a few words to the Board of Commissioners and the citizens of Douglas County again, and I certainly will allow you to repeat if you've done it before, but I would love for you to do it again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to say that I'm very honored to be with Douglas County E911. I am looking forward to the great work that we will continue to do for the citizens of this county.
Okay, thank you so much, Director. I'm going to read actually the tab number 8, and then of course allow you to give the Board of Commissioners an idea of what you're bringing forth.
Yes,
tab number 8 is approval of contract renewal with the Carbine C Live Universe for the next generation E911 public safety technology that improves situational awareness during emergency and non-emergency calls for service at an annual amount of $9,500 effective April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2023, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending legal review. Director Harley, you have the floor.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, Deputy County Administrator Perry, and the citizens of Douglas County. Carbine C Live Universe minimizes response times and maximizes efficiency through improving situational awareness between the caller and emergency services during emergency and non-emergency situations through the use of live video, instant messages, and uploaded images after a link is initiated from E911 that prompts the caller's permission to share their location and video to the mobile caller interface for only the duration of the call. The technology uses what's called Carbine Location, Advanced Mobile Location, through our automatic number identifier and automatic location identifier. To describe it best, Carbine use is kind of like breadcrumbs dropping as the location changes every few seconds, and it works on land, water, and air. And this is a service that's only through a mobile device. And I would like to share that just last week, we had a Carbine success story. We had a caller, we had a citizen that needed help that did not know their location. Well, the citizen actually texted their family member and sent a screenshot of their location to the family member. The family member actually called E911. The link was sent to the family member, initiating Carbine, and the location technology plotted the exact address of that caller that needed assistance. And so law enforcement was able to locate that citizen, and everything turned out just fine.
Excellent, very good. Any questions from the Board of Commissioners or comments regarding what Director Harley just presented? All right, thank you so much, Director.
Thank you.
We're going to move on board to tab number 9, approval of amended contract with Stenco and Associates for special projects, building, consultation, and consulting services, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Director Pruitt, you have the floor. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Board of Commissioners. Good morning to the public. Several line items this morning that I'll refer to as housekeeping for us, spring cleaning, to be more specific. Updating our contract with Stenco and Associates for the accountability courts. This will be for us to complete construction here at the Sanctuary Village project that Judge McClain is point of contact on. Also, from additional services for him to be able to provide inside the accountability courts that we don't currently have. I'm happy to answer any questions, but don't want to dive too far deep because there's a lot that's going on over here.
Or do we have any questions for Director Pruitt regarding this? Okay, Commissioner Guider.
Wait a minute, I'm trying to get, okay. Tim, so Sanctuary Village started several years ago, so evidently it wasn't completed from what this is concerning. So can you tell us what has to be completed?
We have several units actually already completed. We have 6 occupied units at Sanctuary Village currently, and those units are turning over for our female opioid court participants. And we're seeing tremendous return on that investment. What this is for the additional 3 trailers that were brought over, there's rough-in construction has been done, but finished construction has not. We're talking sheetrock, trim work, and flooring, those and fixture setting. So we've had the ability to get a lot done, but we need further expertise. Anyone who's driven by realizes that we don't have skirting on the trailers. We have had freezing weather. We need somebody to help us act as a project manager for some of those specific tasks. So that's regarding the Sanctuary Village piece. So Sanctuary Village is operational, but we're looking to expand those operations specifically on the trailers that are already here. Did I answer the question?
Yes, but there's no price on here. Is there an amount of the contract?
He had an existing contract with us, and I expect that this will be a $5,000 increase overall. It may not cost us anything extra, truth be told, but I do want to just be completely transparent that there is a possibility, depending on how the year goes, that we would spend $4,000 or $5,000 additional dollars on this contract than we did in years previous.
All right, and you had it in your budget.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. I yield back.
Okay. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Got it. Any other questions, board?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Carthen.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Mr. Pruitt.
Good morning.
I am looking at the item for this, the agenda item for this, and it states that there is a need to increase his pay from $25 an hour to $45 an hour to reflect the new duties. So this is an extension of his contract. You all are bringing on new trailers. Is that what you just told the other commissioner?
There are 3 trailers here that are not finished construction. That's correct, ma'am.
Okay, so was he there doing the construction of the other trailers?
No, ma'am.
He wasn't?
No, ma'am.
So what is I'm just trying to understand what is the increase from $25 an hour to $45 an hour? And then to your comment of you may not have to pay any extra. So I'm just trying to understand, help me to see what you see.
Understood. Stan Copeland is a former chief deputy here in Douglas County. His original contract for us was as a part-time case manager, that he came on as an act of service to the community members. To be perfectly honest, I didn't feel like that he would take the job then because it was a significant reduction in pay, but he has a consulting firm that does building contracts for other jails and other secure facilities across the state. He did work with us as a part-time case manager for several years. That ended. He has stopped doing that. So that was really the duties assigned under the $25 an hour contract that existed previously. He is now willing to come back on really more under his consulting firm side of as Stenco and Associates, which the previous contract still stated. But he is going to be taking over really more highly skilled duties and providing a service for us that he did not provide previously. So even though he was present at some point over the last 3 years, none of his duties were assigned to Sanctuary Village.
Okay, so this is in anticipation that with 3 trailers, he will oversee that project as a project coordinator or project manager?
I think that part of this will be as a project manager. We also have several, he is highly skilled. He is also a post-certified instructor and a college professor. He's also has a desire to come in and take over part of our life skills training. So this is several things that are all existing at once. One, where there's a need for additional hours for Sanctuary Village to get us moving. Two, where there is a need for life skills training for our participants, which he not only has a world of experience in, but is also a certified instructor. So that's why the consulting agreement is being brought back to the board. I expect that he will actually work less hours under this rather than a part-time case manager who's really reporting in 2 to 3 times a week, handling the day-to-day fires that might walk into our offices, which he did previously. This is really more professional work and more detailed.
Okay, so he's going to be a jack of all trades for you in order to keep everything going, because you all trust him more so because of his experience. And so therefore you've worked it out where he can get these extra duties. And you're saying it may not increase the contract that he has, but you want to include an additional $5,000 just to cover you for the year. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carter. Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, good morning, Mr. Pruitt.
Good morning.
No, I get it. Obviously, I understand the assignment. And again, friends of Douglas, I get it. Multiple contracts, value proposition, his integrity, it's above reproach. I get it. And it's allowed. It's permissible. You find people who do good work, and they're able to touch other parts of the county. And you're looking for, as they call, a few good men and women. We always do. And I do appreciate the work that they did, Stenco did with the build out of the current courthouse. Great work, obviously work that was done in the jail. I mean, that's not many people you can find like that. Trust me. What do they call it? Level 4, level 5 access. Right? You just can't let anybody in that type of place. So I get the significance of what he stands for. You just can't let anybody in there. I get it. And so I understand. I was just driving home the point of multiple contracts at the same time, which is my point is made. I yield, Madam Chair. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Any other comment? Okay. No more further comments from the board on this particular one. We're going to move on to the next tab. Director Pruitt, tab number 10 is approval of the contract for consulting services with John Sweat to serve as the part-time supervisor for the new reentry program to be funded through the judicial Arpa grant funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Director Pruitt, you could explain to the board what this item is.
I'm very excited to present this to the Board of Commissioners because I believe that it's going to allow us to remove people from the jail in a much faster way. We have been working for several years trying to reduce the amount of time it takes from incarceration to entry into our accountability courts. And the first project for this reentry program is going to be to fast forward that so that rather than someone sitting for months in the county jail, we will be targeting a number of weeks. The cost savings to the county will be significant. The benefits to the particular participants are going to be significant because of the stabilization factors they will have coming out of jail in a faster way. Most likely will be much more likely to have housing, transportation, employment at a number of weeks rather than a number of months where any of us that were incarcerated for that period of time would destabilize in our day-to-day lives. We wouldn't make our car payments. Somebody would come take our cars. We wouldn't make our house payments. We would lose those things. We wouldn't show up to work for a number of months. I doubt we'd be able to show up to work again. So these are going to be very real data points for us in the accountability courts, but also provide a real cost savings to the taxpayers, to the sheriff's department, to the board of commissioners, because we won't be incarcerating people for the same period of time. So this for us is a huge project.
I believe
years of service. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So after 28 years of service, he is retired from the sheriff's department, and we are lucky enough to be able to bring him on in a contract position. This is ARPA funding, but this ARPA funding flowed from the governor's office through the judicial branch. So Superior Court, District, and judicial circuits were allowed to apply for money. We did apply for that ARPA grant. We had approval for that ARPA grant. We were awarded that ARPA grant. This is us enacting the contracts outlined in that grant.
Thank you so much, Director Pruitt. What's the value of the grant for this particular position for Mr. Sweat?
For this contract, we expect this to not exceed $25,000.
Not to exceed. Okay. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding this?
Yes,
I do, Madam Chair.
Okay, I've heard Commissioner Robinson first, but certainly if you want to yield to Commissioner Carthen, I will do.
I'll yield.
Okay, Commissioner Carthen, ladies first. We have the floor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So, Mr. Pruitt, I'm looking at, again, this agenda item, and it says $45 an hour for part-time, 20 hours a week. My recollection, that's about between $40,000 and $45,000 a year for part-time. But you just told Madam Chair you don't expect it to exceed 20?
Allow me to check my calculations here.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So I do not expect, this is the real finality of the work. And so I really do not expect this to exceed $25,000. That doesn't mean there's not a week where this position doesn't work 20 hours. Okay. I want to be completely transparent with the board in that I do expect there'll be some heavy weeks where there's a 20-hour week that comes in, but there's also a number of 5 or 10-hour weeks to balance out. So I'm giving my real world expectation there at $25,000. We are asking for up to 20 hours a week if the work is there for us to need. It's a brand new project, and these are simply my best estimates at this time.
I get you. Is it modeled after another program? Because it's really interesting the fact that you would put somebody on this to kind of alleviate crowding the jails, because we do know that it is a burdensome on the taxpayers to have to house somebody. So I just wonder where you get this idea. I applaud you if it's yours, but if it's yeah, where did it come from?
I will give credit to Chief Judge Bo McLean, and that we have been talking about some type of reentry work for the last several years. I will also give credit to our district attorney, who I worked on a BJA grant regarding reentry a year ago. That grant was not successful, but the mental energy of that grant is there. I then have to say thank you to Judge Camp and Judge Caldwell, who for the last 3 years have been working with us, trying to find a way to identify participants earlier. So really, we have a tremendous amount of energy that's been put into this. When the ARPA money in the judicial side came online, we were quickly able to go back to our shelf and say, this idea and this idea married together under the guidelines of ARPA, let's make that work. So we knew that this was possible. I have in my history, I was a clemency officer for the state of Georgia. So I was a parole board hearing examiner. I am very familiar with how to manage inmate beds and conduct risk assessments for release. So we understand how these things could happen. But it is absolutely through the vision of our judicial leadership that we were able to pull the trigger on this so very quickly. We've already identified 20 people that we know are eligible and clinically appropriate for this program. and that's out of 100 or two that we're screening and assessing. I can go into a lot of detail about that because I'm very passionate about this work, but I will not do that unless it's necessary.
No, it's not, but thank you. Reentry is you know, I ain't gonna lie, I've had several family members who have had to come back into, you know, our society from after serving 10, 15, 20 years. So it is important work. And so I know I just applaud you guys for doing that and thinking outside the box to help us within the county to get those people supervised so that they stay on the right track and not reoffend. So thank you so much. I yield with that, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carter. Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Carthen. Great segue. To the point about reentry, the comment was made earlier about the jail, which I get. You know, the policy, and really wasn't even a policy. There was no option dealing with sentencing, and so Douglas County historically, you know, you put them in the box. There was no alternative sentencing option. You want to go home, you want to go to jail. And obviously with the drug court, you know, felony, you know, all those courts you guys have created in the past 6 years to give people an alternative. But then those who do go in to the box and come out, you know, what do? There's something that comes on TV called Free Enterprise on the weekend, those who are ABC followers. And it's about entrepreneurship. It's about education, right? It's about literacy. All that is important, you know, because at the end of the day, the comments made, no, it's all about education. Never deny people education. If you deny education, people are left in the dark. They're unenlightened. They don't know about their options. And so I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, I got the clinical side, but it's giving people a path forward. It's teaching them the fundamentals, giving them opportunity, honing those things. And there are assessments. Everybody's not called to do this work. So again, I commend you guys to the point. It's creative. I wanted to drop on this one point though, it's about funding. To procurement and everybody else. All right, guys, I need a single view of all this separate money. Everything doesn't just come to the county, what we call general government. You guys got their own funding path. Right? They got their own funding path. But we still, because our pictures are on front of that CAFR, that annual financial report, you know, we're responsible for everything. And so there's still a need to have a single view. Yes, they have total control to spend how they choose to spend, programs they choose to advise, but we got to keep up with it. So I'm just, Madam Chair, Director Amos, I'll talk to you offline, and Madam Carthen will talk as well. How we're going to keep up with all of these different funding sources that's coming online, et cetera. Make sure we have the same standard across the board. We've got to normalize this. And this is a one time in 100 years that we happen to be here, and we actually can go do some soft stuff that historically we just not have been in a place to do. That's the thing you got to acknowledge. Like, okay, without this art money, whether it's COVID, art, whatever, without that money, some of the stuff that we're working on, we'd never be able to get to. Because again, back to priorities, there are fundamentals of government, but we've got a little expansion capacity here. So I'm glad you guys are being innovative and creative. And so, you know, continue to work. And Tim, you know, I'm an advocate of you guys, and especially Chief Judge, and the work that you guys are doing. So keep it up, man. I'm good. Thank you, Madam Chair. Made my comment. I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Or do we have any other comments, board? Okay, if there are no further comments.
I do just have one, just one question to Tim. Tim, I mean, first of all, great job well done, and I commend you guys on all the things that you guys are doing, which I'm just so proud to be a part of this, that we're trying to be proactively preventive for those who get into the cycle of the system, and you guys are kind of helping them through it and helping them get out of it and return back to the normal society. But what kind of tracking, and I may have missed this, so what kind of tracking, so we can kind of talk about the success stories about all of these things that what you guys are doing over there? What are the tracking mechanisms that you guys have in play of keeping up with these guys and keeping them moving and keeping them going in the right direction? And we can kind of display those stories and those success stories. Kind of what that looks like.
So thank you, Commissioner Mitchell, for the question. We are utilizing our existing case management software in the accountability courts for this first group of folks. As reentry grows and as successes occur, we will be expanding that service, in my opinion. That we will eventually need to look at case management software and implementation if we grow to that point. But for the first 2 years, 3 years that we have this judicial ARPA money, we're going to utilize our existing county approved Connexus Cloud case management software so that one, we can document not only the status someone enters into court, and that means were they on disability, did they have Social Security, were they fully employed, what was their educational level, did they have their own home, did they have their own transportation, and monitor not only the number of drug screens that they're able to pass, which is a huge metric for us, but also monitor their progress through the program so that at the end we can compare and contrast the person that came in versus the person that is transitioning without our supervision back into the community. So I'm absolutely thrilled with the question. I have a technical answer there with case management, but I think that there's actually a bigger question of we haven't talked a lot about our success in the accountability courts. And to be perfectly honest, we have nothing but success that we should be sharing. Graduation was a way for us to do that previously. COVID made that virtually impossible to continue to do. So I will be looking for and entertain all the conversations about how do we share our successes, transitioning people back into the community, habilitating, rehabilitating, reestablishing lives, rebuilding families. All that is the work of the accountability courts and my other coordinators, that my counterparts here in the county, in the state and family treatment court would echo those statements, I believe. So we should do a better job of explaining our successes, Commissioner, and I'm going to try to figure out how to do that.
Right, and that's what I don't want to miss, because I know there's quite a few success stories, and I just don't want to miss those. At least I don't want the community to miss out on those opportunities of acknowledgments and how well these programs are working and helping the public, get out of the system, return back to their normal lives and all that good stuff. So I know there's a lot of good there, but kudos on just at least understanding what you guys are doing. It's just so important to this community of Douglas County. So keep up the great work and kudos. Just make sure we don't forget about all the great things that you guys are doing, and it doesn't go overlooked from the mere fact of just the incarceration side of it is just what it is versus how you guys have rehabilitated these guys and got them back into normal societies and all that good stuff. So I'll get there, but again, Tim, great job. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Madam Chair?
Vice Chairman Robinson.
Yeah, I want to double back, and again, here we are, and I'm glad we have to listen to the citizens, and I'm going to go back to again the jail, and I've got to acknowledge Commissioner Mitchell. We built a jail that was almost $140 million, all said and done. $10 million for 30 acres of land, et cetera, et cetera. We're probably overbuilt in capacity, probably by 30-40%, 30-40 million. Commissioner Mitchell, and again, I was just meeting him at that time. He was coming from the city, so this is back in 2010. And it was during that time when the collaborative firm was actually educating the public on the SPLOST, the history, community engagement. And part of that, Commissioner Mitchell, like, why don't we take some of this money that we're getting in this jail and redirect it to programs? Prevention versus intervention, or after the fact. And so, I mean, to see how the county has evolved in sort of this decade, it's just, sometimes it's about seasons. About windows and doors open and close. And there's an open window here, and you're seeing a shift. And you're seeing that an acknowledgement says a policy of just straight incarceration or straight in the boxes, you still got to take care of when they come out. Right? And all these things. And so, again, I just wanted to acknowledge, me, I'll respond eventually, but I just had to figure out the right way, the season in which to introduce my commentary. But it's to educate everybody, like, no, we've always had this idea, but the timing was off. It just wasn't aligned. You didn't have it's the combination of leadership where the moment is right. And so, again, Tim, I appreciate you guys. But here's the thing about you guys. You guys actually have a humble spirit. You and Chief, you guys, you're doing great work, though. It's ministerial. It's marketplace ministry. It's government ministry. It's ministry, right? And you're doing it right. And yeah, you're not high in cost. It's very thoughtful. But to Commissioner Mitchell's point, again, Madam Chair, I challenge our communications, and probably we'll get to it later in the agenda. We got to do a better job in helping, right? I mean, look, they find their own money. I mean, think about it, these guys are independent. We'll find we got our own rep finders. We got our own, we manage our own case management. We do our own. I mean, they're efficient. And I'm always challenged about, okay, now how you gonna scale this? Because at some point you can't do it all, but you do it so well. And it's like, no, I mean, it's one at a time, and you guys are doing a great job. But I know this. It's like, okay, guys, y'all doing some great work. And yeah, you may get a spotlight here or there in the paper, but it's not real work you guys are doing. Is that it's the effectiveness of your programs, and that's what's not being highlighted. So I'm with Commissioner Mitchell on that, and I'm sure we should be there to help them. Their job is delivering service to the public, right? That's Superior Court. That's their job. That's their call. That office is about delivering services in that area, and they do some of these other things that go along with that stuff. But we're shared services. We're supposed to take stuff off of them that they shouldn't have to worry about. Like, they got to figure it out. Like you said, I'm open to this. Guys, that's what we're supposed to be doing in general government. And so, Madam Chair, that's just a hint. We probably need to think about that. I know programming, you guys have got that. We know, obviously we'll get some help in that area. But again, that should not be lost, because again, as you do utilize, it's not about a spend. It's about appropriations. When you appropriate tax dollars, you got to show the yield for it. And I think we can do better. And I'm with our peers, whatever you guys need, to all my peers to sort of do this for the right reasons. I'm all in. I just wanted to highlight that, Madam Chair. Thank you, Tim. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Vice Chair Robinson. Also, thank you for reaffirming that the previous administration utilized collaborative firm, the collaborative council or firm for the SPLOST to certainly educate our citizens back in 2010. So that just validates that it's certainly not personal, it's business in this administration as well, and we will utilize collaborative as well. So thank you, that just made my day. And thank you so much, Tim Pruitt. I'm going to move on to the next items, and we'll move on to tab number 11. Tab number 11 is approval of 2 full-time employee contracts for the reentry specialists in the amount of $42,000 each, plus benefits to be funded by the judicial ARPA funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Mr. Tim Pruitt, you have the floor again.
Continuing under the reentry program, we are looking to bring 2 positions online as contract positions for specifically handling this reentry work. To beginning with, there's going to be a lot of training to get people up as we take the accountability court model and focus it on this reentry project. But we've selected our first candidate or 2. I've got those contracts sent to legal for review and their final approval. But these will be who John Sweat is supervising, to be perfectly honest. So I'm not beating a dead horse. I'm happy to answer any questions about it.
Okay, any questions for Director Pruitt?
Madam Chair, just one question.
Commissioner Carter, you have the floor.
Mr. Pruitt, so your funding is for how long? Is it 2 years, the span of the ARPA funding?
3 years.
3 years, okay. And then after that 3 years, what do you anticipate?
I anticipate that I will be coming back to this Board of Commissioners and outlining the number of jail days that were saved through reentry, and working with our counterparts at the Sheriff's Department to talk about how we have reduced the overall daily inmate census, and that the tax dollars saved by that project are worth the project continuing.
Got you. So I just wanted to make sure that my that my fellow commissioners heard you say that. So anticipation, this buys us 3 years, but we need to understand how we possibly can incorporate this into the budget. And hopefully there is a savings, and that the Sheriff's Office can see those savings in man hours, food, medical costs, all of those savings. I'm assuming you will be looking at and tracking as well per person that is not in the jail over, a longer period of time. So hopefully it will be a win-win across the board. and we can see this continuing if it's a success as we all anticipate. But I just wanted you to say it for the board's ears so that we can anticipate picking that up if possible. Thank you. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. Okay. Any other comment? If not, we're going to move on to our next item, tab number 12, approval of amended contract with Tim Pruitt to reflect a $7,000 supplement from the Bureau of Justice Assistance Drug Court Expansion Grant, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents, subject to final legal review. Director Pruitt again.
So I'm going to talk about 12 and 13 together, Madam Chair, if that's okay, because this is the same grant and the same thing that we're doing for both. I wanted to break this one out because it is related to me and be very transparent about what we're doing and why we're doing it. The Bureau of Justice Assistance, we got a $500,000 grant from them, and that is creating our opioid treatment budget from the feds. Had pay supplements for several employees listed, and that's everyone listed here, myself, Miss Alexander, and Miss Gordy, because of the increased duties for those assignments. So all of these are really the same conversation. It is in an approved grant. We do have an approved budget from the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and this is us being transparent and dotting the I and crossing the T for the Board of Commissioners.
While you do that, I'll just read tab number 13 since you combined the two. This approval also, Board of Commissioners, for the approval of the employee supplements for Karen Alexander in the amount of $5,280 and Teresa Gordy in the amount of $4,180 to be funded through the previously approved budget by the BGA Drug Court Expansion Grant, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents, and also to include to reflect the $7,000 supplement for Mr. Tim Pruitt. Any questions, board, regarding this supplement?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Carthen.
So my question is, Mr. Pruitt, these supplements are for how long?
3 years.
3 years. Is this a grant that you all will continue to apply for, or is this part of the settlement for the opioid agreement that the county is also looking at?
This is not the opioid settlement money.
Okay.
Yes, we will continue to apply for grants, and Administrator Subhadan, former Administrator Subhadan, and I had this conversation during our budget meeting for this year. I did ask for supplements for all of our employees for that year. We appreciate what the board was able to do. I did ask for additional funds because I believe that it is the accountability court staff that are going to be building, as I said then, the new programming to address the problems at the jail and the judicial backlog. We now call that reentry, which I've talked about in our previous points. But Administrator Subhadan was very forward thinking on that and thought that this was a great idea. I told her then, I will look for grants to pay for those additional supplements wherever I can find them. And the opioid grant had that part of that already included in it. So we will continue to look for grants to continue to reward the very good work that the staff that we have are doing.
Thank you. I just wanted to highlight that because, of course, you know, as we continue to add more people to the coffers, the county's biggest bill is, of course, the people, but we can't do the work without the people. But we do have to manage what we give, how we give it, and for what pot we give it. So I applaud you for at least going out and finding the help to help you guys. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, you understand that if you can't find the money, that it may not be in the budget for the Board of Commissioners to give another supplement. So just wanted you to be aware of that. I like transparency. I may not be here, but at least I said it so that nobody would be disappointed.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. Any other comments forward? I do have just one that I would like to close out with. Commissioner Mitchell had a very good point regarding success stories and what we could do to improve. And certainly, respectfully, Director Pruitt would like to see if you would just earmark your calendar for one of our first work sessions And if you could just create a PowerPoint of something that just highlight all the success stories, and then you could present that to the board and to the citizens of Douglas County. Certainly, I will have I will ask or request our clerk to reach out to you, but I would love it if you could, the first meeting in May, to present to us and to the citizens, and that would be great.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Thank you for coming in today, Director. Board of Commissioners, we're going to move on to tab number 14, approval of a supplemental agreement with Gdot for contract time extension on the Maxim Road congestion mitigation project P1 number 0012621 for project closeout, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Director Valentin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. This time extension is strictly for project closeout. The contract itself for construction has been fully completed, but the paperwork for the closeout still needs to be gathered and submitted so that Gdot can close out the contract. The extension goes until June of this year to allow for that to take place.
Any questions from the board or comments? Okay. We're going to move on to tab number 15, approval of a deductive change order in the amount of $209,883.71 on the contract with Triscapes Incorporation for construction of the I-20 landscaping project and allocating the funds for the ongoing maintenance of the I-20 landscaping, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Director Valentin, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The contract for I-20 landscape came in below the budget. And at the time when we received the bids, there was a component for construction, and then there was a component for maintenance. However, at the time, the funding was not available to award both the construction and the maintenance. Based on the agreement with Gdot for the permit to perform the work within the right-of-way, Gdot's right-of-way, the county entered into an agreement whereby the county is responsible for the ongoing maintenance of the landscaping. If plants were to die, dry up, whatever, they need to be replaced, and the mowing around the area so that it stays in good condition aesthetically and otherwise. And so this savings that has been realized by the contract coming in under budget, the intent is to allocate that for the ongoing maintenance of that landscaping.
Thank you so much, Director Valentin. Any questions for it?
Sure.
Okay, Vice Chairman Robinson.
Yeah, I'll be quick. To the last one and this one, these were things that came up in our Transportation Committee meeting, so I just want to acknowledge that. That's why I didn't have any comment. It was really noted. But this is one in which, again, this was deducted. It's always a good thing. They came in under budget. And so there is a reappropriation. Again, reappropriation. Put it somewhere else. Landscaping. So Miguel, for the record, this came out of SPLOST, and so we're now going to reappropriate this for the landscaping of it. How long would this last us? Is it a one-time maintenance, or talk to us about that? How will this 209 give a little bit more clarity, please?
Yes, Commissioner, two points. The funding source for this was not SPLOST. It was actually the tree fund, and so that was the funding. And that's where it would go back to if it wasn't allocated for this ongoing effort. The bids that came in at the time, the savings that were realized would account for about approximately a year's worth, maybe a little more than a year's worth of maintenance. It is quite a bit of work. It has to be done regularly. And so that the anticipation would be that it would cost perhaps in that neighborhood, in that range on an annual basis.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the clarifying. That's why I called you for my guy. So tree fund to my peers. All right, so what I'd like to have by tomorrow is I'd like to know what's in the tree fund. You don't have to do it now, but Director Miller, let's make sure we know exactly what is in our tree fund. We're now putting 209. So what was the cost of the total contract to have to get back 209?
It was around, as I remember, 1.6 million.
All right. So again, that I-20 corridor, it was important. We recognized, like, let's clean ourselves up. As you say, cut the grass, pick up the trash. Like, let's do some beautification. I'm sure I know this is your number one priority since 5 years ago and 1 month. 5 years and 1 month ago, you came in with this. And we know the importance. We know Congressman Scott, all those comments like, y'all, go to another level. And so I do get it, and I appreciate the effort. But it appears 209, just to maintain that. We have to make sure we budget beyond this. Tree fund, obviously, is developers paying into cut down trees. In lieu of cutting down trees, you got to pay into this. All right, we understand that. I won't belabor that point. But the tree fund will get diminished fast at that clip. Ongoing maintenance. So that's something that needs to be budgeted, along with the other maintenance associated with streets alone. I'm sure. So one more time, so you've got the exits, the interstate, and then you got the main arteries and stuff. Highway 5, Post Road, Lead Road, Fairburn Road, Thornton Road, all the maintenance, all the cross streets that the main thoroughfares or main arteries. Since Miguel would say that we need to make sure we budget for it. I know Commissioner Mitchell has stated this before. It's like, look, it's going to cost you about $1 million at a minimum to maintain. But reasonably, people say, like, can you at least cut the grass? Can you pick up the trash? So we know that is important to maintain the aesthetics of this county. You have to. So that's a cost that needs to be budgeted. To Madam Carson's point, that yes, there's a lot of things that need to be maintained. We just have to prioritize them and forecast, anticipate, budget, set aside. Not necessarily reactive in just one budget cycle, but that's the whole point of again looking out 5-10 years and having the discipline to recognize, okay, if we've got a shift over here, and that we are going to put as a priority maintaining this county. Well, you need to budget for it. We're going to maintain things associated with our judicial system. We'll plan for it, right? So it's just a shift. While we're sensitive to the increased cost of government, there's also more people moving in here who's paying into the system, right? So do you take that new growth and only keep it on the jail, or do you spread it out on the other areas that may be necessary? So that's the other side to the equation, which is like, well, you're getting new growth, though. You're getting new growth. So you just put in the same areas, or do you begin to sort of expand that and spread it around? So I just wanted to make that comment since we're doing this, and I hope that helps. Madam Chair, I yield. Thanks, Miguel. We're good.
Thank you. Any other comment forward?
Chair.
Commissioner Geiger, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Miguel, doesn't the state of Georgia maintain the median on the interstate highway, or maybe federal government maintain it? This is just for the trees that we put out there, maybe the pruning and this, that, and the other. We're not required to cut the grass, surely.
Commissioner, a couple of things. In order to get authorization to do the landscaping, the county had to enter into a maintenance agreement, agreeing to, as I mentioned, to perform the maintenance on whatever landscaping we put in. And because of the extent of the areas, there was landscaping, in addition, there was sod that was placed beyond the planting beds. And once you get an area like that landscape, the requirement is by Gdot that the county maintain that quadrant. In this case, it would be all 4 quadrants of those intersections. So yes, the state typically would maintain those, but they would maintain the grass. Once you put landscaping and planting beds and a certain configuration where the plants meander and weave and what have you, they ask that the county then take over the maintenance of all of those areas, including the mowing right next to the beds, not down I-20, but within the quadrant of the interchange. the county would have to maintain the grass as well.
My goodness, that's going to be a huge cost to the county. I assume the state would continue to cut it, but we might have to maintain the beds, where the bushes were planted and this, that, and the other. Did not know we were going to have to cut the whole thing. So do you have any estimate going forward what each one of these quads are going to cost?
Yes, Commissioner, based on the bids that came in with the original construction bid, it's in the neighborhood of $200,000 a year to do all 4 quadrants.
Now, does that include the one that the city did? Because it seems like they have to maintain the city, the 2 cities, I get, ramps.
No, just the ones where the landscaping was done under the county contract.
So that would be Thornton Road and Liberty Road and Post Road. The other 3 are in the city. So
and Lee Road as well.
Lee Road.
Oh, and Lee Road. Okay. And 200,000 plus each year. Now, will that maintenance come out of the tree fund?
Unlikely, based on the fact that when we were in position to award it out of those funds, there weren't sufficient funds at the time. So it was fortuitous that we were able to bring the contract in under budget this time, but it is a one-time thing. And beyond that, it would have to be budgeted. So,
and one other note, I just want to ask, I've seen the signs, fines, $300 for littering and this, that, and the other, but it seems like the litter keeps growing back and sprouting new. It seems like the more we talk about it, the worse it gets sometimes. So is there, are we going to prosecute? Is that up to the code enforcement, or is that up to the sheriff's office? Do they go through the garbage when bags of garbage is thrown out there?
yes, Commissioner, that would be a code enforcement question. I couldn't speak to that, but yeah, it would go primarily through code enforcement, unless it is some in connection with some other active situation where they would be cited for something else by sheriff's officers. They could also cite them under this.
But they can't, a citizen that witnesses that and gets the tag number, is that followed up on?
That would be, that information would go to code enforcement, and they would follow up on that, yes.
Okay, because we've got to do something. It just seems like sometimes you look at some of our roads, we look like a third world country. So anyway, with that, I yield back. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Great, thank you so much, Commissioner. I certainly want to add to what you just said regarding the litter along the roads. We continue to pick it up, but I do have some ideas and thoughts in my mind that what could be one of the contributing factors. And I know we have our trash haulers and also our GFL haulers coming through on Mondays primarily. And that's when I noticed that the trash is accumulating. So I'm not sure if our citizens are just not tying their little bags up, and then when they dump it in on the trucks, it's blowing all over the place. But that's since I am the secret agent regarding trash, I've been trying to determine how we can mitigate the problem. So I do have some ideas, Commissioner Gdot, and I agree with you. I did ride through Cobb County this weekend and just to compare notes. And it's a third world country as well, if that's what you want to refer to. It's trash all over Georgia. So it's a state problem. We really need to all become very serious about trash in Georgia. So I'm hoping Douglas County would certainly set the example first, and then maybe it would the idea and the concept will become contagious throughout this entire state. I do ride through often and look, and I was in Cobb County this weekend and I rode, and I had the same feeling. I said, look at all this trash. So anyway, I'm gonna leave that alone, and I'm gonna move on to the next item, but we are working on the trash here in Douglas. We're gonna move on to tab number 16, approval of a maintenance agreement with Gdot for a permit for the gateway sign at I-20 and Thornton Road Interchange, assuming responsibility for maintenance of the sign and utility bills and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Director Valentin, again, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this item and the next one similar. There were two components to the work that was done at the interchanges. There was the landscaping, and then there was the gateway signage that was done at the two ends for the two entry points into the county. Those signs are in place, and what we're trying to do is get power to them to be able to light them up at night so that they're more prominent. This maintenance agreement is required by Gdot in order to issue a permit to the utility company to perform the work. So that's the intent of this. There is no cost to this, except that we would be agreeing to obviously assume responsibility for the power bill when it comes in, and it would be lumped together with all the other facilities that the county owns. And if something were to happen to the signs, we would have to go in and maintain them. So that's what this item is. And the next one.
Any questions, board? And then tab number 17 is identical to 16. It's just on the other end of the county, which is approval of the maintenance agreement with Gdot for a permit for the gateway signage at I-20 and Liberty Road interchange, assuming responsibility for maintenance of the sign and utility bills, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. So we have Thornton Road and then Liberty Road exchange. Board of Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Thank you so much, Director Valentin. And hopefully we will see those signs lit up in the very near future. You know, it's been a work in progress. Tab number 18, we're going to move on board to propose annexation by the city of Douglasville for 3.14 acres at Slater Mill Road. Bill Schaefer, Mr. Schaefer, are you on the line?
Madam Chair, I'm here.
You have the floor.
This is a small piece of ground that is still in the county, south of property that had been previously annexed into the city. And they're asking to have this 3 acres annexed in the city so they can combine it with additional acreage to do a single-family residential detached and townhome type development. The portion that's in the county involves around 10 to 11 lots of the 50 single-family residential lots that they're going to create at the south end of Shawnee Trail at Slater Mill. And then at the north end, there's about 50, or rather 80 townhomes that are proposed to be developed. Those townhomes would back up to land in the county that is currently heavy commercial and general commercial zoning. So it's probably very appropriate to put townhomes next to commercial property. But that's the nature of the ask. There's no county facilities involved. Staff can raise no objection to this one, as we don't see that there's a problem, but we just wanted to bring it to your all's attention.
Okay, thank you. Board of Commissioners, you have any questions regarding this annexation request from the city of Douglasville? Okay. If there are no questions, we'll move on to tab. Thank you so much, Mr. Schaefer. Thank you. We're going to move on to tab number 19, approval.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Carpenter has a question for you.
Yes, Mr. Schaefer, just to make sure that as they pick up that portion, they will be picking up that road.
How you mean picking up the portion to the south of what they're annexing and to the, I guess it would be the east of what they're annexing, would still remain in the county. And so it would still be county responsibility as long as it was still under half county jurisdiction.
Commissioner Carson, did that answer your question, or Commissioner Carson?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. Can we further discuss that with our county attorney, just for future? Just if you could put a pin in that, Madam Chair. I have no objections to it, but of course, if it's still something that we would be taking care of, but they're annexing a portion of it into theirs, it's just something that we can revisit in negotiations with coming up with loss and other things. So if you could just stick a pin in that, and that's something that we can take up with Attorney Coleman. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I yield.
All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you, Mr. Schaefer. We're going to move on to our next item, Board of Commissioners, which is tab number 19, approval to purchase Granicus, a cloud-based software and tracks soft-term rentals in the amount of $11,770.50 to be funded from the Planning and Zoning budget as recommended by the Purchasing Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Manager Ron Roberts, how are you? Planning and Zoning, you have the floor. Good.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Yes, so last summer, we had some discussion with several commissioners about short-term rentals, party houses, things of that nature that were an issue. So when we went through the budget process, staff had looked at some software that tracks the short-term rentals in effect. So we actually, in our discussion with Granicus, they had identified 173 short-term rentals in the county. 158 were uniques, and they track them across multiple platforms. And that means that if they're advertising on VRBO or Airbnb or Craigslist or what have you, then Granicus has the capability to track those addresses. And so when we went through the budget process, we had a quote from them, and I put it into our budget for planning and zoning, and it was approved. In fact, was Commissioner Carthen's legislative aide that actually sent an article that showed that the Airbnbs are rebounding from COVID, coming back. So this software would give us the ability to actually get the addresses, not just have a number, but actually have the addresses and have proof that we can support to go after, not after them, but just to identify them. And there's a lot of reasons to identify them, because you want to be able to legitimatize them, capture the occupational tax. And if they are operating without a special use permit for short-term rentals, which is required, we would be able to get them to apply for those fees, which more than pays for this thing in itself, all that said. So the ask today is to get started on this, get it in there and see what it does. There's no long-term commitment. We'll try it for a year, and if it is a beneficial thing, then we can continue on. But the Granicus is, when we went through the purchasing subcommittee with everyone, they already have like a state recognized contract. They're already in several counties. They're in Bartow, they're in Chatham County, they're in Chatham County being particularly, that's Savannah. So there's a lot of Airbnbs down there, a lot of short-term rentals in Savannah. So that was impressive. So we've got the packet and submitted into your into the materials here, and I am going to make myself available for any questions that the commissioners may have.
Thank you so much, Manager Roberts. For the commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Ron Roberts this morning regarding this software? All right, Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
No, thank you. And again, I want to give acknowledgement to Commissioner Carthen for her leadership on this matter. While Airbnbs can be in HOA-based communities or not, that's a broader, obviously, topic. It did come out of a community that had an HOA. And it's important for the record in all season and how you respond, is that the board is very sensitive to topics that are out there that affect our citizens. We can't address everything. We can't address it. We can do. Commissioner Carthen got her mind around. So how do we tax these guys? How do we regulate the Airbnb component stuff, which was causing issues? That's a new phenomenon. When I grew up, people used to have parties at the hotel, Motel 6 and stuff like that, right? You really didn't have you couldn't use your parents' house, right? Or they were out of town. Let's keep it real. For the youth, the youngsters, we recognize that. But now Man, you use a credit card. My son, like, what? I mean, you did what? 21, and I need time out, and he goes and rents at Airbnb. Like, whoa, but yeah, who's up in there? What's happening? So I get it. I get how this thing can get away from us. So there's two parts. One, the taxation. How are we going to regulate? How do we identify who they are? How do we now get, we need to know what they are so we can keep an eye on them, and so we engage our public safety. It's one step at a time. Right? When you have new phenomena, you now have to erect things that allow you to address it. And again, this is major. I don't want this to go like this is major. And Ron, you did a good job of framing it, but this is major. You guys got your mind around this neighborhood to put something forth. So I hope the full board is in support of putting this, supporting this. But again, even HOAs are at bay on how they deal with those people who actually their own members, and how do they deal with those outliers. So HOAs are also coming to us regarding that. So it's an interesting thing. Like on one hand, one citizen want me to beat up the HOAs. On the other hand, the HOAs are asking us for help. It's not my power to beat up an HOA. That's not our role. That's up at the state level. Take it out with the General Assembly. But what we can do here locally by tightening things up like this is showing that we do care, by educating people on how to deal with these things. And a lot of this is about self-responsibility. Right? At the end of the day, think of what's being asked of the Board of Commissioners and things that are being thrust upon us. On one hand, you don't want Big Brother to be on top of you, but you want your freedom, but at the same point, you want to use us as the big stick on matters that are personal. Sometimes we get ourselves in trouble. And now you want somebody to bail you out, the government, but no, you got to take it up in the proper form. Right? But I one more time, it's about the season and when to respond to something. This is very good work, Ron. You guys, you're quiet about this one, but I had to highlight it. You said this is major. And I congratulate you guys on taking the lead on that. We'll continue to work it. Obviously, the registration and financials and elections regarding HOAs is coming, Ron. Thank you for that. We're working with the judicial side. That's why we support them and their ideas. We support them. They support us. Pay attention. How to get stuff done. And pay attention. So I appreciate the work. So I just want to make that comment, Madam Chair. Good work. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chair. Any other comments forward? Any other comments? Certainly, I echo you, Vice Chair, and certainly congratulate Commissioner Carthen and also our planning and zoning team on this huge initiative. And I believe that it's press release worthy, because it's something that needs to get out to our citizens to show that that their voices were heard. I remember our planning and zoning meeting that night. So Commissioner Carthen, certainly at your pleasure. Certainly this is something I will ask the Board of the Communications Department to highlight, and certainly make sure that that you are highlighted as the brainchild behind this, and also planning and zoning. Are you okay with that before I do it?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you so much. But again,
Okay.
it was the citizens' voices. You were there when we heard it. I think
Oh,
the
yes.
whole board was there. So again, citizens, your voices do matter. When you bring things to our attention, those, again, that are within our purview, like Commissioner Robinson said, we can handle. And with Ron Roberts and Allison, we were able to come up with the best way that we saw fit that we could do our part. So thank you.
And I know Phyllis Banks, and I know you have that. Make a note of it. And also Rick Martin, as the Director of Communications, if we could just run a press release on tab number 19, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're going to move on. Board of Commissioners certainly speaking on behalf of Tiffany Stewart-Stanley this morning regarding two significant grants. We have tab number 20 and 26, which will be rendered by our Jill Hobson, who is the manager of grants. And I'll start with that. So I'm to in just respect of your time, Manager Hobson, then you could probably you get back to just some things that you need to do. Tab number 20 is authorization to accept state Arpa funds in the amount of $750,000 for Douglas County water and sewer infrastructure project, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Manager Jill Hobson, you have the floor to explain to the board what this item is all about.
Thank you. Douglas County received a grant in the amount of $750,000 for to extend public water and sewer to Pine Lake Mobile Home Park. This will alleviate issues not only within the park, but also a main supply of Douglas County's water source. This is a project that we will be working with Water and Sewer Authority and Pine Lake Mobile Home Park to accomplish. We are going to be scheduling meetings for that and pending final budget approval from the state once those meetings have happened.
And Manager, you will be scheduling meetings with, is it the Water and Sewer Authority, Gil Shearhouse and Brian Keel? Is that what you're implying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, you have any questions for
Madam Chair.
Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. And any other directors that may be here that listen to this, you got contact. So again, one more time, yes, we as commissioners, we go out and we engage our communities, go out in the HOAs and also recently go out in the mobile home communities. Right? Get out there and do some work. And we visit them and we realize that even our their taxpayers, their voters, and sometimes we forget that we got 13 mobile home communities. And so that's something that we did last year, and we really went out there. And during COVID, nobody would go in except me. Everybody stood outside. I had about 8 or 9 directors outside. And I had to hear their hearts and get attention to this matters, and it respond and open up like, oh gosh, right? And so fast forwarding it, part of our ARP money that we set aside, it's about $1 million to deal with. Obviously, one thing dealt with different communities dealing with their detention ponds, etc. So we got this $1 million for our ARP, and now you got this $700,000. It's all dealing with water. Are these being combined? Are we keeping up with this? Is this money? So, Joe, the question is this money coming into us directly, or is this money that we'll oversee the management of it, or is this money going directly to the Water Sewer Authority? Help me understand how this was played out.
I do not believe it's being combined with anything. This is a separate award number through Georgia grant system. To answer your second question, I'm not sure that it's a collaborative effort.
Okay. No problem. It's more of a general question. I get the distinction. It's just one of those where, again, Water Sewer Authority. That's
right.
an important function.
We will definitely be the fiscal agent over the funds, but this is going to take the professionals that do water and sewer to really formulate the plan.
I got you. Yeah, no problem. It's just, again, one more time, you've got ARP money. The store money has expanded our capacity. This is not you. This is a broad point. Right. We have to keep up with this, guys. All right. We're leveraging our capital stack. We only got so much money at the local level. But now you got this federal money dropping down on us. Keep saying, look at this, guys. Look at this. And we just got to keep up with this. But it's going to be good work. It's don't get me wrong. Let's have that problem. Let's be in a place where, okay, guys, we got to raise our game in order to deliver services to the public that has never been addressed in the history of this county. And so don't get me wrong. The mobile home community, like, okay, right, you just let that be what it was. It wasn't a priority, but they vote too. And so it's the little voices. They ain't the one that's always made the people who can't fight for themselves. That's what this is about. It's about giving that attention to those things. Just educate them. Let's tap into them. Let's engage them. Let's make that their voices matter as well. It's not about class system or anything like that. Like, no, it's all citizens. Irrespective of any type of way you want to split it in a segment. A vote is a vote. A voice is a vote. And so I think that's important. So duly noted, you guys are going to keep up with this. I heard the fiscal agency, but somebody's got to oversee that. So hopefully, again, you guys will be scheduling that over time. Duly noted, I'm glad you went and got this grant. Congratulations on that. There's a lot of that out there. And I know your role is going to be instrumental. We haven't met yet, so I guess at some point, Joe, we're going to get together and talk about District 2. I know you're making your rounds, and duly noted, it's on me to schedule that. So I got it. But this is going to be important. We're always talking about leveraging our capital stack, being able to take what we got locally and go and get state and federal grants and stuff. And the money is there now. Now we just got to go get it. But look, we do a good job of getting it. let's make sure we can deliver and keep up with it. So duly noted, Madam Chair, I just want to make a point. Jill, thank you. You bet you answer my question. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Gator?
I just wanted to ask a question. First of all, I remember we had a zoning project on Fairburn Road, and there was talk about the contamination of the lake, and they thought a lot of it came from this park. But I just wanted to make sure, and I don't have the map in front of me, but at one time it was very close to the TAD that it will be going, proceeding. It's not within that TAD district, is it? They're on Fairburn Road.
Not that I'm aware of. I was not part of the application process, so I don't know 100%, but I can find that out for you.
Okay, I just wanted, I remember it was very close to it, so I just want to make sure we don't do work that's going to be having to be torn out later. So just check, make sure that it's not part of the proposed TAD area that's on the east side of Fairburn Road. All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You're back.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Vice Chairman Robinson.
Yeah, no, I appreciate Commissioner Guider's comment, but it triggered, again, we talked about mobile home communities and that perhaps there was a contamination of a lake. So we're going to go back to our regulatory process as a county. Why do we allow it? What was this standard? We allowed these private, and so what I learned, I wrote a, staff did, I sponsored them to go look at it. I mean, it was, you should read it. Staff was, for the first time in the history of this kind, oh my God, somebody's paying attention to mobile home community. Everybody from EPD to planning and zoning to water to development services, first time ever anybody paid attention to it. When you get in here, like it's in isolation. And I had a fundamental problem. Oh, heck no. But it was like on the outer orbit of our atmosphere. We're the inner planets and stuff, and you got this circle around, like, okay, but that's still part of our universe. Right? And so I'm like, now I'm looking at the condition of the mobile homes. And you got owners in other states that have these properties. Go back to Adam Carthen. Right? Pay attention. Right? So you've got people who have these mobile home communities, and it's the standard in which they built them and maintained them. And we can't complain about the fact that maybe there's something, well, aren't we responsible for regulatory of that? Don't we own that? Right? And so it's one of those, and I get the state, there should be a combined effort. And I just think the standard, and what we're showing by this water, like, oh, guys, can we at least get them better water supply? And I know some of them have their own lakes, their own sewer and all that stuff, and they get water from us and tap it in. Okay, fine, but it's just sort of been over there on the side and we ain't really paid attention to it. But if you go look at it, like, oh my goodness, these are our citizens. And so I appreciate that we're finally putting some attention to this. So one more time, this is one of those like, no, this is a big deal. I mean, ain't it like putting 50, 60 people out in the mobile home community when you show up as a commissioner and they're like, oh God, somebody's paying attention to us first time. To hear staff said, oh, well, this never was a priority for us. Wow. This is one of those like, under the closet, under the rug in the closet type moments. Like, no, put some light on this. Let's put some funding. Don't just give them lip service. Like they pay too. Again, I don't care if you put $1 in or $100. You still should be recognized. It's about dignity. It's about the wholeness of our citizens. So again, this is one of those, one more time, this ain't just, this is the first time, I'm sure this administration is hitting some things that's never been done before. Now it's about seasons now. We couldn't have got to it without this federal money. Don't get me wrong. So I recognize based on where we were at, but now you've got some expansion capacity, spread it out. Don't keep putting money in the same old swamp. Spread this thing out. Make sure everybody get a plate. Everybody gets knowledge. So duly noted. Joe, you guys, again, all y'all keep doing what y'all are doing. And I just wanted to make that point, Madam Chair. And thank you. I yield.
Thank you so much. Mr. Any other questions or comments from the board? So now I'll close by saying that this is huge for Pine Lake Mobile Park. And this is another press release moment, but I want to make sure we receive everything, dot every I, cross every T before we publicize it completely. I know we're still in the process, Manager Hobson, so I don't want to go too fast, but I'm excited if we could just put a pin in it and look forward to bringing this one out as well. This is the first time it's ever been done in our history. But again, we don't want to get the support of the state and the federal government. And as I always mention or say, that the COVID-19 has not been all bad. It's been somewhat a curse, and in other regards, it's been a blessing. So we've seen a lot of things happen, and I appreciate all the thought leadership and the wide array of thinking as we continue to galvanize all of these projects here in Douglas County. So thank you. I'm going to move on, Board of Commissioners, to tab number 26, which is authorization to enter into an MOU with the Douglas County School System for the Public Safety Officials and First Responders Supplement Grant, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. And if you could, Jill Hobson, if you could explain to the board what this is and what we're bringing before them this morning.
Yes, ma'am. We need to enter into a MOU with the Douglas County School System. Part of the First Responder Supplement Grant gave us the authority to apply on behalf of other law enforcement and first responder agencies in the community. We received over $500,000 in funding for that. The majority of the funding was for local staff already on payroll. However, we did have a portion that will be school system employees. So they will disperse funds individually to the first responders, and we just need to provide them with the overhead.
Okay, any questions forward? Okay, thank you so much, Manager Hobson.
Thank you.
You did a great job of representing our Assistant County Administrator this morning. Thank you. Board of Commissioners, we're going to move on. We'll go back to tab number 21. And before Dr. Allen presents, because she has about 5, I've asked her to, or should I say the Assistant County Administrator, Tiffany Stewart-Stanley, has asked her to please review the application process that was required for the Community Grant Award. And then certainly she will tackle each one of these awards separately, but thought that would be just a good idea. Each one of you do have in your drop boxes a copy of the application, Board of Commissioners. And then, of course, I just asked Dr. Allen to frame it, the criteria, and then I will call on her to address each tab separately. Dr. Allen, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Good morning or good afternoon. I am speaking about the Douglas County Community Grant Program. And first, let me tell you the purpose of it. The purpose of the grant program is to strengthen the county's coordination with community partners, also ensure opportunities for local funds to be leveraged in the most effective manner for citizens. Now, let me give you, and it's not very long, I apologize having to read to you, but let me give you the application requirements. The cover sheet is to include the organization name, the organization legal name if different, organization's federal tax ID number, year of establishment, number of years organization has operated or served Douglas County residents, organization's address, organization's authorizing official contact information, organization's application, contact person if different, requested county funds, organization's current year operating budget, current fiscal year, the start and end date, brief overview of requests, at least 100 words, the grant application, 2019, 2020, 2021, 990 form, our IRS letter of determination, staff and board information, and audited financial statements for the past few years. So in addition to the application, they had to submit all of the documents that I just named. However, it has to be the documents that's applicable to their business.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Allen. And I certainly wanted you to frame what was actually what the application process entailed. So with that being said, Board of Commissioners, I'll move right into tab number 21. Tab number 21 is authorization to award the Douglas County Community Grant Award through the Douglas County Chamber in the amount of $75,000 and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Dr. Allen, could you expound on what the chamber provided to you for the Board of Commissioners?
Yes, the chamber has submitted all of the documents that were required and applicable. They've submitted the application and all of the applicable documents. So their packet is complete.
Board of Commissioners, we have any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Chairman Robinson.
All right, so I appreciate the revamped, I won't say revamped, the creation of a more formalized and standardized process. So duly noted, I know that's something that we as a board have been talking about for the past 2 budget cycles, ever since Commissioner Carpenter came along, which is really 3 years. So duly noted. Check for that one. All right, my second question is, what is the source of funding for this first one? Source of funding. And second, when we say community grant, is this, I've never heard this term before. It's okay. I'm not challenging. I'm just curious as community grants, that's something new. So take it in reverse. What is a community grant? Like, where'd that name come from? And second, what is the source of funding?
Okay. My understanding is that this process is new. The application process has never been done before. So Ms. Stewart Stanley had to create the application for the applicants. The source of the funding, I am not absolutely sure, but I will find out.
I have it for you. It's the UNIQ fund. It's the UNIQ fund, Vice Chair. And that's money that's already been appropriated, just earmarked until these individual organizations submitted their application. So that's something we did ahead of the game. And I know Rosalind Miller may be on the line. Are you on the line, Rosalind?
Yes, good morning.
Yes. Can you share with the board just to make sure the source of funding, so for all of these?
Yes, as you may recall, at the end of last year, the commissioners had items that were priority, and we went down the list to make them part of the budget. And the next few items that's on the agenda, they were funded from UNIQ. However, the board asked to just put them over in UNIQ until further discussion. So the money is in the budget. However, the contract, the fully executed contract, will actually disperse the funds if the board approves the contracts before you.
Yes. Okay.
Right. So, all right. So thank you, Ross. All right. So, all right. So, so what part of UNIQ is this coming from? The hotel motel tax, and there's a part of that that's funding an UNIQ component. Help me follow the money trail. What is the underlying source? So UNIQ in what way? Is it coming from hotel motel tax, or is our true UNIQ fund? Which one is it?
No, it's not the hotel motel tax. This is the UNIQ, some of the funding sources to help would be.
It's not contingency. It's not.
No.
I know. I'm eliminating things. I'm helping with context.
Okay.
Keep going. All right, go ahead.
The revenue for the UNIQ that the contracts before you will be dispersed out of is beer and wine, franchise, your insurance premium tax, other permits, building permits, zoning map, street lights. These are the funding sources that would fund the contracts before you. And some of the standard expenditures, the department is public works, developmental control, and planning and community development.
Got it. Right. So I understand funded all the money that's generated has been assigned in doing a normal budgeting process, or this was some excess that was left. And I do remember the conversation. I was involved in the conversation back during the budget when they came before us, even during the actual vote itself. And so I'm not disavowing or not acknowledging that. I'm just trying to refresh my memory on. So answer that question. How much of this? How big is our UNIQ fund? Has it all been assigned, and how much is left over?
Yeah, there's about $3 million in your UNIQ fund.
Yep.
That, let me just a second.
That's all right. Take time.
Okay, thank you.
Get the numbers.
Then Rosalind, I know I caught you off guard a little bit. If you could, I believe the portion that's related to these community award grants is related to, and Vice Chair is correct, to hotel motel. There's a portion that the county keeps in our coffers. I believe it's 36%. Do you remember that conversation?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's where it's coming from. So what's the value of that? We just want to make sure we give the board good information. I know
Well,
you
hold on, before you respond, but that's my point. We're saying two different things.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna let you finish this, but I want to hone in on we're mixing the uninks. Right.
No.
So no, it's not
Okay.
you, Roslyn.
I'm sorry.
Not you. There's uninked from hotel motel tax, and then it's the uninked in which you do your accounting. And I want you to help reconcile us in this moment. We don't have to solve it if we need to go offline. But and that was my point. What's the source of this? And so it's not a right or wrong. It's just simply, I think there's I'm going to let you, because it's coming like this. It's converging, and so don't defend. It's just more of a help clarify for us what we're really looking at. I know what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to fund these agencies. So it's how we're going about doing it. I know what the end goal is. No problem. I know the amount, but we're just trying to get the source of where this is coming from and reconciling what's the net difference. That's all we're trying to do. Take your time.
Okay. So the funding sources that I mentioned when I stated taxes, internal, governmental, charges for services. Well, not charges, but the revenue sources I mentioned, there is another source, and that is the 36% that we transfer over to uninked. So that would also support the contracts that are before you. So it's those funding sources and the 36% of the hotel motel. But once it comes over to uninked, it is unreserved. You can, allocate it to the contracts that's before you.
There we go. Right. So they converged. Right. So you're saying that from accounting, you keep it all in one bucket, but they're funded from different places. One is a hotel motel tax, which is obviously state, authorized, that comes into local, and then you got what we have our local fees and whatever fines and permits and all that stuff that helps fund that. All right. Just so to my peers, there's no confusion. It's all so it sounds like, Roz, to you, it's all one bucket.
That is correct.
This is where I'm pulling it from. And so I think I got it. I'm clear. I'm going to yield. Thank you. I'm good. Thanks, Madam Chair.
All right. Any other questions? You have the floor again, Roslyn.
If I may, the answer to the question about what's in fund balance for the uninked, at the end of 2021, which of course is unaudited, but the amount is $3 million. And of that, I can tell you how much. Okay. So it's $3 million for the end of December that is going into fund balance. The beginning fund balance was 1.5. So the ending for 2021 is 4.5 million. And unassigned is also 4.5, meaning you can use it for the operations of this fund. So there's 4.5 in fund balance.
All right, so 4.5. No, I get it. That's all right. So we came in under budget. Is that like we were saying under budget is carrying over?
That is correct.
So we budgeted. We still got $4.5 million that we haven't done before that we can use for whatever we need to be done. Now we know we got to close out the books, but at the end of March, and we'll know officially what our final numbers are. Is that accurate? So they're still coming in. You're still reconciling with the accountant and everything.
Yes, you're correct. Yes.
And so that's to revisit and everything in April. And so in April, when we revisit, is that the topic? Is this the source of that funding that we'll be revisiting? If the board chooses to do anything, would this be where we would be making considerations out of?
You're absolutely right. Yes.
It's more education. I get it. I'm just sharing. All right, Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you. Any other Commissioner Guide? I see your mic is on.
Yes, Rosalind, I was trying to look at the old minutes and everything, but anyway, are these the only organizations that applied for this?
I can answer that question. There have only been 5 organizations to apply.
Okay, so, and we're giving something to every one of the organizations. I just don't understand, like the chamber, we already give them 66%, no, 62%, I think, of the hotel motel tax. And I just wondered if that could not have been used for something else that we don't already fund. And to the Development Authority, they're in the budget. So I don't understand why we're giving them more money beyond their budget. So are we just giving them away money just to give it away? Do we have to give to everybody that applied?
Let me answer that, Dr. Allen, if I could, Commissioner Kreider. On the 66% you said that we give to the chamber,
62.
Yeah, 62, but now we have DCTT. So that money now it's under the Douglas County Travel and Tourism, which is a totally different umbrella, 501c3. So all that money is no longer made available to the chamber. That's why you see.
So the chamber doesn't get any of the hotel motel tax?
Not to my knowledge at this time, because of the transition to DCTT. And there's a new organization that was created by the Board of Commissioners about 3 years ago, if my memory serves me correctly. You remember? Or you don't?
Yes, I remember the doing the 506C, but I just maybe I didn't realize that every bit of the money was going to go to them. I can't understand how they could spend that much money. I'd like to know the amount of money they received.
Well, yeah, it goes to the 62% goes to the DCTT, and it is being spent quite wisely. We're doing a lot of things around the county, trail signage. We've added some signage to the old Douglas County Museum. We have a presence in the Hartsfield International Airport. So there's a lot going on. So certainly I would love for you to meet with our DCTT team, and certainly I serve as a member, should I say.
Maybe they could come and do a report like the animal shelter did.
And they did recently, but I will have them come.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And Dorsha Simmons is our president. So
But
that's why.
then we
That's
get
why they're
to the Development Authority when they're part of our budget, and didn't understand why we would be giving them additional funds. Just seems like we're trying to give away money just for the sake of giving it away. I don't. And does it have to be a government organization? Can it be something that's a 501c3 or something like that? Such as the Share House?
We still have Share House. We provide services to Share House, funding to Share House, the Boys and Girls Club. So those folks are still on there. Those are our traditional grant requesters. But Chris Pumphrey, if you remember, he requested an additional $25,000 from the board during the budgeting process. And I was under the impression that $25,000 was going to come out of the general fund, but instead, our finance director indicated that it would be coming, that $25,000 that he requested is coming out of UNINC. So that's the only reason that you see the $25,000 there. So we're not giving it away. The city, he said the city had given him an additional $25 as well to operate. And so he did request that, if you remember. I have a very good memory, and we can certainly pull the records, but that was something that was as part of the board approved back in December.
But do the organizations have to be a government entity, a branch of the government, or
well,
for the chamber wouldn't be? So
no, they don't have to be a branch of the government, because CAC, the Cultural Arts Center, is not a branch of the government either, and we fund them every year.
Their funds away, I think.
And what we did, we earmarked, I believe, a certain amount. These requests that you see on here was earmarked already in the 2021 budget her approval of the board. I believe Commissioner Carthen said, we wanted to she said, let's just hold it until we get all the applications completed, and we've done that. But should I say Tiffany Stewart Stanley and her team has done that. They've gotten all the applications, made sure that the criteria was available to allow this funding to go forward. It's already earmarked in the budget, the uninked fund. So all we're doing today is primarily coming in to say that the boxes have been checked, all the requests have been met, so this funding can be released.
So do they have to be government agencies?
The answer is no. I don't think that you have two on here that's not government agencies. And
so some 501c3s can apply for this in the future?
Commissioner, we welcome them to do that if there are, these have been the traditional ones for the county as long as you've been in office. You've been in office 40 years. So if you have questions regarding these, certainly if you want to look at some additional ones, you're sovereign, you can do that.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair?
Okay, Vice Chairman Robinson.
Yeah, no, good conversation. Enjoyed listening to this. But again, historically, the county has funded what it was familiar with. It's what it's new. It's what was in its bubble. But yet this universe has other planets and other beings have spawned out of this that definitely could use funding.
Right.
Right, but there was no formal mechanism, one. There was no formal policy, two, and leadership wasn't open to that. It's up to the board. We had that conversation with the Director Ray Light. We talked about we have all these organizations out here. Think about the Cooperative 4, the annual breakfast we go to out there and stuff. Nothing but nonprofit agency. But all we've historically done is given to the same old grateful people that we knew all our lives. Mm-hmm. Right? And this brings up a good point. Like, yeah, guys, I appreciate there's a more formalized process. Now, it's up to the board. If, again, now you're shifting. I just want to know, I'm okay with the ideological shift. I'm all for it. Game on. The season is now. It says, guys, yeah, it's open. But now you got to recognize what you're doing by entertaining that. Says, okay, and again, you got a policy in place that says, well, look, we want to give you a 2-year grant, 3-year grant. Look what the state is doing to us. Like, we can give grants. Now, there's a difference between like a sheriff house who has what I call them lifetime grants. Those forever contracts. Mm-hmm. Forever. It just keeps rolling. What about everybody else? Right? But then all right, everybody can't get a lifetime contract. So now you got to put a policy in place that says, okay, we're going to give you a 3-year contract or 2 years, like the feds do, like the state do. And to Chris Clark's point, at some point, it's going to end. We can't be we can be a resource, but we can't be your sole source.
Correct.
See, what has happened historically is that you got these people that you put in place and you spotted them for life. You gave no room for anybody else. Mm-hmm. Right? You didn't break it up. You didn't, so in other words, like, make them go find some other grants. Right? So listen, I'm like, do y'all know what y'all saying? I'm like, I'm all for this conversation. Like, oh, not we're awake. But I would love to make sure if we go down this path, make sure you're thoughtful. So Ms. Allen, Director Stewart Stanley, all you guys are procurement, grant writers, y'all really need to think about this. This is, okay, I'm game, but bring us something to sign off on. This is, okay, how will we handle that? It should be, down point, 501c3, 501c6, doesn't matter, but now you get into the place of, okay, but what is our priority? What are we getting in return for that? Just because you apply, is that part of our bigger picture? Do we believe in that? Now, me, I'm all about mental health. So anything that looks like that, I probably would support. But we need to be thoughtful about it's not just because they're asking for a grant. Does it tie to what we believe as a board? What is our priorities? And so if you got 3 people who will support doing that, but just because you apply does not mean you're going to get. And it should be competitive. Right? You only got so much money. So you got to set aside, guys. Okay, well, yeah, we'll say we'll set aside $1 million. It says for anybody to come get this, and it's what, $50,000 a pop? See, right now you're doing these one-offs. There's no formal approach to this. So I think that, again, these are the same old people always. I think what you're saying is, and I don't disagree with what Mr. Dyer is, I mean, I get the chamber, I get the development authority, but sometimes in working with them, it's almost as if they don't think, but why I got to do this? Like, okay. Okay, so is what you're doing, me funding, helping support what I'm trying to get done? I'm advocating because we get to control how it's appropriate. Just because you ask, like, no, we gotta line it up. Don't give me lip service. That's why the money was taken and put in one area. Let's just tell the history. I'm trying to get your attention. You need to line up. It needs to be collected. You can't be in your bubble. I'm just supposed to give you money because you fight. No, we don't. We got to see that it's lined up to what we believe is important. Now, again, you got your objective. There's certain things like entrepreneurship. It went kicking and screaming on that. Like, really? Or even how we even got to DCTT, how we got to tourism was, again, we're trying to go and, make it more expansive. That's what happened to the break. Mr. Carthy pulled that thread, it all unraveled. It's shifting the county. But now this is the next evolution. That's the past. That's fine. Let it be. Now we're moving forward. So now we didn't open it up and it's laying here. Now we're reconstructing ourselves. Now, how will we take this going forward that it's more inclusive? So again, I'm with her. Let's open it up, but let's be thoughtful what the policy is by making. So you got the form. That's great. It's more on the board. So it's more the leadership. Madam Chair, you and your cap, y'all need to figure out. Come to the board with something that says, okay, guys, now how are we going to appropriate funds? What is the amount and how will y'all handle it? You got the form, but what is the policy in which we're going to do that right now? I mean, how long is it? You're only going to get 3 years. That's it. You got to find another funding source. Or can it repeat? Can you reapply? We haven't heard that yet. But duly noted, I just want to make that comment. I'm open to anything per se. I believe we're heading in the right direction, but let's formalize the policy around the appropriations. But to your point, if I got $1 million sitting there, now, based on what I just saw, well, you got about $800,000 more. Perhaps you can put it in other people's pockets, but what is that process? And again, it's the same old people who know about it. There's tons of people, I meet tons of people like, okay, they need a grant. They have no clue how to even engage the process. Back to why you have to educate them. I spend a lot of time educating people. They don't even know how to tap into this money. They're not even watching this. They're not even paying attention. One more time, only a fraction of people know what's going on in this government. Everybody don't sit here and come on public comment every meeting. Everybody got lives to do. They got other stuff to do. Like, that's why I have listening posts to make sure I get that information to them. Like, look, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. Now, I can't make them. They have to rise up. They have to engage. They have to access. But I don't deny them the information, the education. But again, at the end of the day, by having this, I just ask Madam Chair that we're thoughtful in how you guys carry this forward. But I'm open to whatever my peers want to do on this one. But it's a good place. This is not a criticism or anything like that. It's like, okay, I'm game. Just let's make it more formalized. I yield, Madam Chair. Thank you.
I'll just add to what you said. Thank you, Vice Chair, for certainly just paraphrasing what we're planning to do. Certainly, the recipients will have to apply yearly, so it's not just a guaranteed going forward. So this process is required yearly. Certainly, Commissioner Guida, to your question, it is open. It is open, so everybody may not make the cut, as you all were just mentioning. But this is the first time we've had a process as such. And so far, because the names that are coming before you today are the ones that came before us in 2020 during our 2021 budget. But of course, it's open, and then we have the criteria out there that be made available, the application process to those who are interested, and we'll just go forward. We never had anything like this before, and again, we're creating the wheel as we go forward, and I believe we're making quite a bit of progress with this creation. So I'll move on, Board, at your pleasure, to the next request, which would be tab number 22, is authorization to award the Douglas County Community Grant Award to the Cultural Arts Council of Douglasville, Douglas County, in the amount of $57,000, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Dr. Allen, can you elaborate on the submission of the Cultural Arts Council?
Yes, the Cultural Arts Council of Douglasville and Douglas County has also met the requirements and submitted their application and applicable documents as well.
Any questions from the board? We're going to move on to the next item, tab number 23, authorization to award the Douglas County Community Grant Award to the Douglas County Development Authority in the amount of $25,000, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Dr. Allen.
I'm sorry. Douglas County Development Authority also has submitted their application and applicable documents as well, and their packet is complete.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Tab number 24 is authorization to award the Douglas County Community Grant Award to the Douglas County Museum in History and Art in the amount of $75,000 and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Dr. Allen, if you could frame.
Douglas County Museum of History and Art also has completed their application and submitted applicable documents. Their packet is complete.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair? No, I'm gonna yield.
Commissioner Carthen. Yes.
I do have a question. So I'm looking at what was, I believe, emailed to us over the weekend. Ms. Allen, Dr. Allen, is that what you're referring to when you say packets are complete?
Yes.
Okay, so these packets have different information. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it. Some of these packets are not complete. Some people had questions in regards to why they were being asked to put forth certain things. And so, and they were referencing that they had given information prior to this. In my opinion, a complete package is that you have answered the questions that the Board of Commissioners put before you. You have showed us your financials. The financials were vetted. I don't know by who. I'm assuming by you, Ms. Allen, or Ms. Stewart Stanley. Both. You have looked it over. You have looked at in the past what the Board of Commissioners has gained from the programming and the appropriations for the programs that were put forth. I'm just not certain about this process and how it was truly vetted. And again, all of the information is not there. I don't want to call out any particular entity that is requesting funds from us, simply because if you're requesting it, you probably need it. But we do want to ensure that if we are looking at possibly funding you, whether it's to the amount that you asked us for or whatever we deem that we can possibly give you, that you have followed all of the criteria. So I would ask that you again look at those. I don't want to call it out, but again, there is two in particular that have not completely and fully answered the questions. As a matter of fact, one of them put a question back on us. So I would just say we really need to look at these complete applications. It's not fair that one or two entities do it and then another two entities, because they feel as though they are affiliated with the county, don't have to answer completely. It's not fair, would you say?
Oh, I agree 100% that it does need to be absolutely complete and in compliance with what is requested.
Yes, ma'am. And so, Dr. Allen,
let us look at the, tab number 25, Commissioner Carpenter and Dr. Allen. If you could explain to Commissioner Carthen, I know I'm referring to the Douglas County Museum in History Art. I'm gonna be very clear and blatant about it. Their questions, can you tell them about the documents that you received on Friday evening? Because the application process, she has attached application, but all the questions for the application have been answered. And then also you have your what is that, the E990, is that available? Because she did some extra legwork. Yeah, so she did some extra legwork, Commissioner Carthen, over the weekend. So I'm not sure if your documents reflect what she has, but Dr. Allen had to do some extra work just to make sure we had everything we needed. But the E91, the EZ990 was already in their packet. She just didn't see that one. But of course, the two things that was missing was the list of board members. Dr. Allen got those list of board members this morning. And then also, secondly, it was the questions, but the questions were answered on a separate form. It was the same application. So Dr. Allen attached the application to it and says see application attached. But she said every question has been answered. So we wanted to make sure, so we can provide that information to you if you'd like to see it.
And Madam Chair, if I may I elaborate a little bit more?
Yes.
After speaking with this particular establishment, they have not been audited. So there's only one more document that would be missing. But also the application, calls for applicable documents for specific entities. And that's one thing that they did not experience. So they would not have that particular document.
So this particular entity is requesting funds from us. They are a 501c3. They do have their own board, although the county does own the museum in which that 501c3 sits. So they have board members, they have finances. I'm assuming Ms. Hudson and the team do hold fundraisers, and they have never been audited to see how they spend those funds or to see that worries me. That's one of the reasons why I think we are doing this, just to ensure that if we're audited, which we're a county, and we're giving away the taxpayers' money, then the people that we're giving it to have to be held accountable as well. We just cannot give out funds just because we have a kind heart. And I tell you, my chairman of this board would give everybody, she would give everybody a house, a car, a room and board. She would give it all away if she could. But we're a business, we're a government, and we just cannot do that. And so I would request that we go back and we help this individual to understand. Show us how you spend that money, even if you have not been audited. And that EZ 990 form is just a 501c3 that you have to go into the government and just tell them that you didn't make over a certain amount. That's something that nonprofits should file every year, but that does not have anything to do with truly auditing your financials or telling, it gives no detail. I know what an EZ 990 form is for 501c3. So, yeah, I just questioned that one. I also questioned another one, Madam Chair. Again,
which one is it?
I think we're doing another $25,000 for them. So that would be a total of $100,000. Again, we don't have any oversight. They do have their own board. Again, we are generous enough to allow them to operate within the old courthouse, of which we are we pay the rent, the lights, the everything in there. I'm assuming, I don't know what the $75,000 is used for, because the majority of the items that are within the museum are donated to the museum, are given. So I'm perplexed. I just don't understand where the money is going to, how is it being used, and how is it being appropriated for the county.
Let me say this. Allow me to finish first, Commissioner.
And the $25,000.
Oh, the $25,000 is per the request to have a consultant come in to look at that museum so we can take it to a whole new level. And so that was part of our budgeting process. But let me just speak to the museum again. You said that if we remember, the museum is part of the county, and it was part of the actual general fund for many years. And then, of course, the funding came out of DCTT. So they had a budget line within the county, probably all the way up to 2017. So I was able to look back at some history to see how it had been funded in the past. So I agree with you on the statements, but we did do what was requested, or should I say Tiffany Stewart Stanley and her team did what was requested, went back, requested documents, got every single thing they needed. And also this organization, which is Douglas County Museum of History, said they have not had an audit in those 2 years that we're requesting. So, but all the other criteria was met, but we know going forward, they need audits. I believe, Dr. Allen, you said 2021, a lot of the information has not come in, not only for them, but for other organizations as well.
For all of them, simply because we're in that fiscal year where they're going to have to, submit their documents then. So we don't have 2021 for anyone.
So I'm just hoping they have really put an extensive amount of work in making sure that these establishments understand what's needed and required, and also making them understand that nothing is guaranteed. This is just some money that had been appropriated in the UNI fund. Certainly, at your pleasure, Commissioner McCarthy, when I requested, or should I say when they were brought before the Board of Commissioners, we said we got to get out and create a process. We've done that. We've created applications. So we've checked every box, but certainly I don't want to have a back and forth match. Whatever y'all want to do is fine with me. I am just trying to make sure that certainly the executive team lived up to the request, and we do have a formidable process going forward. So,
and I applaud you, Madam Chair, on that. the request was to ensure that we had a formal process. And so I applaud Ms. Stewart Stanley and her team for actually getting this done. And so again, do you know, Dr. Allen, how this was advertised for others to apply as well? Do you know?
I apologize, I do not. I was not here at that time when everything was in motion. Therefore, I was not privy to that information.
Okay. So, but Chairman Jones, I look forward to maybe you getting with the museum and them going over with you so that you can bring back a formal presentation as to the line item amounts as to how they spend the appropriations that they have received in the past. I didn't even see that in their application. Even if you have not done an audit, the questions that we were asking you would allow you to align, more than just the hydrangea festival. Where are the monies going to? How are they being appropriated? What is the salary requirements? What is because again, we're the ones who are upkeeping the building. They are one of the only nonprofits I know that get free room and board from the county to hold their stuff in the county's in the county building. So these are just things that we just need to address and be tighter on fiscally, because again, you've heard from our directors, you heard from our managers. There are things that are going to be coming down the pipe that we will need that unearned fund for in order to maintain services for all of the citizens in Douglas County. And so I think each and every one of these are needed items. They add to the quality of life. I am not against any of them. What I just ask is that we do things in decency and in order, and that they too would adhere to what we as a county government are expected to report in on. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. Hold on one second, Commissioner Bader. Commissioner Carthen, we do have, there are some forms, should I say a report that the museum submits on a monthly basis, and it has all the salary information and all that, and we can get you those reports. And those reports have been submitted probably for the last 3 years, but they not have been submitted to the right individual. They come to me, and certainly I know I could have shared that with the board, but I don't think the board has an interest in all the little different detail that comes through from organizations. But that information, we will compile all the reports they have, and it captures salary costs and all those things that had to be paid out as we operate this museum. This museum is critical to not only to the Board of Commissioners, but to the citizens of Douglas County, to our school-aged children. They've made, what others consider junk is somebody else's treasure. The citizens and the students here do have an opportunity to at least learn about the history of this county. And that's why that $25,000 is here, so we can get a consultant to come in and see what we can do to enhance to the museum. And that was the $25,000 ask that I had initially during the budget process, and that was certainly part of that money that we allocated or appropriated for me to come back later once everything is completed. So there's no application there. It's just that we need a consultant. We need to bid out for a consultant to come in and look at that museum and to give us some ideas and a visionary that can take it to a whole new level that will make it more inclusive and diverse, which we all know that it needs to go to a whole new level. Commissioner Guida, you have the floor.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I would like to remind the board that the funding for the museum, the county museum was removed. It was taken away from them. And it wasn't about $50,000, if I recall correctly. And also the Cultural Arts Center, the money was taken from them. But as Chairman Jones stated a while back, the hotel MOTAX was given to tourism. Well, both of these are tourist attractions, and they don't charge as far as the museum is concerned. I think it's free. I've been through the museum. I don't ever remember anybody charging me. The board at the museum is voluntary. So there's no funds coming in other than donations as people come to visit, but it is a tourist attraction. So is the Cultural Arts Center and their hydrangea festival. It brings in a lot of visitors to Douglas County. It seemed like some of that money, I think it amounted to over $883,000 was given to tourism. What are they going to come look at if we keep doing away with or not funding the things that make Douglas County? So I think we ought to consider putting money back into our budget for the Cultural Arts Center and the museum, and the tourism committee, they have enough money to have hired help. The museum does not. So how are you going to fund an audit if you don't have the funds? So we handled this way wrong a couple of years back, if you ask me, because we took it away from two tourist attractions and gave it to people that's supposed to be advertising for people to come to Douglas County. It didn't make a bit of sense at the time. But anyway, I think we ought to reconsider how we handle them in the future budgets, because they need to know what funding they're going to get from the county. Sure, they get a free, the museum gets a free place, but it's, like I say, it's to attract people here. And for the school children, I've been up there when they've come through there, and they're just thrilled to see a lot of the things that are in that museum, which are donated. I've donated some things myself, but it's important. History is important. I know there's a lot of people that like to destroy history, but history is very important. And so, and it's important to Douglas County. So I think we ought to leave some of this money in there for the museum, because they have no money coming in. They don't get $883,000 like the tourism people do. So that some of that money ought to be allocated to the museum and the Cultural Arts Center, if you ask me. So anyway, with that, I yield back.
Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Geiger. Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you. Great conversation. We have to work through these things and we get to a vote tomorrow. Take a position. The museum does not make Douglas County. That museum does not comment that was made that it makes Douglas County. It's an important vehicle, absolutely, as a mechanism to capture. Yes, that's anywhere you want to do that, and I'm all for that. I never, forget my history. And I think I'm going to take my position and refresh everybody. My point was just do better. That was my only point. I don't have anything against the museum in and of itself. I just think it wasn't inclusive in how it told the story, which is why I was supportive of the $25,000 to come. And I did vote for it during the budget to get somebody in here and take it to another level. I played off of it. I'm very proud of it. No, just do better. Don't make me go hard. Just do better, because I support it. But if you think that's what we got is okay, then now I got to go a little bit different. Like, no, let's give that study to somebody, give it to DCT and let them facilitate bringing it. The whole point of, we didn't do it wrong. We just, go back to, no, we didn't do it wrong. This was a shifting in ideology. That whole DCT going from one group to the other, creating that 501c3, that was a breaking. It was a breaking. We broke it. Like, no, that's enough of that. And it was out of that experience, all that went down. What was that? Our anniversary. Y'all were going to the birthday party when the board walked out. Don't forget your history, how we got here, what that was about. Don't do that. So, I mean, some of the policy changes that we made was like, no, y'all got to be a little bit more accountable. Y'all hold me accountable for $18 receipt. You're going to spot them $75,000 because you're not going to tell me what you did with $75,000, and you cannot suppress, Madam Chair. Now, that's one thing, Madam Chair, they didn't send it for 3 years. You still gave us that. We'd have asked for that for 3-4 times. But y'all are very good in putting my $18 receipts out there. But you can suppress, but they're going to spend $75,000 in salaries. I'm sitting here like, oh, look, guys, I didn't know nothing about that. Oh, really? Oh, I see. Uh-huh. Oh, you're missing 3 receipts, but so I'm listening. I'm just making my point. I hear y'all. I think we can revisit it. I think, again, one more time, you're trying to get attention. You have these entitled. It doesn't matter. The board's up to the board, guys. We don't have to, at the end of the day, the board can do what it wants to. I agree with Commissioner Carter. Like, no, you got to complete the forms. If it's completed, great. You got to show some account. I mean, show us good faith, but don't ask me why I put forth my condition. Why is not relevant? It's my choice. If you got a problem that you feel that you can't submit to the new process, you may not get where you think you're going to go. I have a problem with that attitude. Like, ooh, really? Let me get out your way, yes, I'm not needed. So I think it's an acknowledgement of the board. It says, look, if we're held to this higher double standard, like, well, we ain't got to be a double standard, but if we're going to be held to a higher standard, we're going to hold everybody to a higher standard. Everybody. You're not exempt. And so if you got a board, why aren't they helping? Why aren't you raising money? See, that's the whole point. We're just shifting it. So we're spending so much time on trying to maintain this old existence, but what about everybody else? We spent almost 30 minutes on this one topic. But I know what it's about. I get it. But I had to remind why the board shifted like it shifted. Right? So again, you've got those who've been here all their lives and those who moved in, and this like it's what I won't call it that, but in higher places, it's what it is. Differences of opinion, difference of ideology. Like, no, we don't have to do it that way no more. We're doing it a new way. We don't do it like that here. Well, based on who? The board determines. And so what you're hearing is a lot of pushback on stuff, a little about nothing. Like, maybe I don't fill out that form and keep this thing moving. Fill out the form and keep it moving. But if we got to play this out on the floor, that's my only problem. Like, okay, guys, it should be prepared. So when it comes to us, it should be yes or no. Everything should be ready to go. We have our questions. We have to answer them. But from a policy perspective, I mean, we're not obligated to. You just take a position, yes or no. Right? I won't argue the policy. It's on the floor. So if you put it on there tomorrow, Madam Chair, up or down, yes or no, keep moving. They don't get it. But again, Ms. Carter's point, like, okay, y'all, what is y'all vetting? Make sure that they're ready before. Don't send us nothing that ain't ready. Don't send nothing over the wall. So when we ask for information of how they spent the money, you can't suppress that part of the equation. You can't suppress that. You can't hide it. You can't, because then it's like, okay, now we can get the information. We don't need subpoena to get information. I mean, everybody talk about open record. Really? You may want to give it freely versus us have to go there. Because there is no, you get in trouble by not responding to open record. That's real stuff. So I'm saying, okay, administration, y'all can't suppress information. What are y'all doing? What are you doing? You can't protect them. Don't put yourself in a place with no. Get out the way. Let them submit what they got so that we can see that it may not be worth it. I get your heart, Madam Carlton's right, but don't. The point is like, no, we can't, because there's people who really want it or need it that do much better paperwork. They don't even get access. Then we're trying to rationalize and trying to like make those, they ain't even got you. I should get it because who I am. And I think, oh, here we go. That entitlement attitude. We ain't asking for much. some forums. Y'all get in, y'all know more people in this county going there and clean that. If it's that important to Douglas, out of $100,000, you tell me there's nobody, all these accountants down that dog on Hospital Drive, people around here, they can't clean up the museum. They can't sit down and do it. Ain't that big. Hey, let me pull some finance together. I do that with my eyes closed. We just did something this weekend. That's hard. So I'm saying, so I'm hearing a resistance like, oh, come on, guys, we shouldn't be here. Just do what they ask, and then that way you can keep it moving. But when you don't give us what we want, now we got to pause, and now it opens up all this other stuff. Some things like, it's all there, you keep it moving. But I, again, I have no problem with the study. I support that. I did vote yes. And so I have no problem with who executes that. I say let DCTT figure out, okay, what's the best way to tourism? Go out there and find somebody that says, give me a roaming museum. Go get the wood dog. Do a combination of things. But open this thing, give me some ideas. But it's just, it's just we can do better. We can do better. I'm almost finished. I got it. But this one goes deep. And I asked for, I would like to get access to that, all the board members to see, Madam Chair, if you've gotten it for 3 years, I want all that information. So since you have it, I'm just knowing that one. Because it's like you just admitted that, well, wait a minute, we've been asking for that. Now, if it was there, then we could be in a different place. But now y'all are suppressing data that is important for us to make a decision. And like we're trying to get there. But when you submit, when you keep the data from us, then how does that what position that put the board in? And that I don't want that put. So to the museum's defense, and if they want to submit it directly to the board of commissioners, that's fine. And then that way we can get our information. So for whatever reason, I mean, again, you can do what they want to do. I get it, and I gotta respect it. I respect everybody's office. But to the museum, you want my support. I need that data. Sent to me. How did y'all spend that money? And over the past 3 years, and we'll just go from there. I yield, Madam Chair. I'm good. Thank you.
We'll do that. Vice Chairman Robinson, we definitely will have that information to you today. If you could, Dr. Allen, make sure that you provide Commissioner Robinson and also Commissioner Carpenter and any other commissioner that so do desire to have the information regarding the application, because they've answered all the questions on the applications. And I'm not definitely leading with my heart. I'm leading for the citizens of Douglas County because I have a passion for museums, and I can't let one person, and when I say one person that works at a museum, be a showstopper for the history of this county. So with that being said, I believe Friday you worked with Ms. Hudson and the entire board. I believe some of them came in and gave you all the information you needed, and you didn't have to push them. It's just some of it, they just were confused. Actually, Board of Commissioners, the director for the museum, actually Miss Barbara, and I forgot Miss Barbara's last name. She died. So she died over the holidays, and she was the one that had all the documents, all the forms. So the board had to come in and pull all the information. What was Miss Barbara's last name? Lisa, do you remember?
Madam Chair.
Miss Barbara, yes. Do you remember Commissioner Carpenter?
I don't, but I'm very sorry to hear of her passing. I know she had been with the board for a long time.
Barbara.
One last question in regards to what the commissioner from the 4th District asked us. I believe we have funded the chamber, the county, the Cultural Arts Center, and the Development Authority. Have we not? We've provided for them for 2020, 2021, and 2019, because they went above and beyond to put their information in. Not only did they give us 2020 audit, I think one of them gave us 2019 audit, because to Dr. Allen's point, they had not completed their 2021 audit yet. So they just wanted to ensure us that they were keeping up with their financials. So I appreciate that. You were right, Dr. Allen. None of them gave us their 2021, but they did give us 2020 and 2019. So that lets us know that they are at least in compliance with physical responsibility. But my question is, did we not fund the Chamber and the Cultural Arts Council? We did give them money. I think we gave the Chamber 75,000. We gave the Cultural Arts Center. They came before us for 100,000, I believe, and that was in June of last year, Madam Chair. I don't know if you
We did not fund the Chamber at all in 2020. We provided, I believe, the Cultural Arts Center. I believe it was 103. I'm not sure exactly what that amount was. We did not fund the museum at all. So you had two.
I'm pretty sure we didn't fund the museum, but we did fund the Chamber because I saw on that there was an approval of $75,000 that we all saw. It's in the general ledger. I
believe that was the general ledger. Those are the activities that the Chamber funds, but it was nothing. No, it was something else related to the Chamber, but it
was just a one-time spend of 75,000 for them.
Yeah,
Okay, got
it was their spend. I was going to say no,
it wasn't that. It was a
So
$75,000 spend. Okay.
The only person we funded in 2020 was the only establishment was the Cultural Arts Center. I believe it was 120, somewhere up in that range. If my memory serves me correctly, I believe it's like 120,000.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure we are funding people who are requesting and who are bringing forth their information. And Ms. Leitner and her board certainly brought forth their information, and we did grant that request. And they're before us before the end of the year, because I thought that request went from June or July till June of July of this year. So the information or the monetary amounts that they're asking us now, Dr. Allen, is that Dr. Allen, is that from June or July of this year up until June or July of 2023?
Actually, it's till 2022. The grant is for 2022, and their information is up to 2022.
Okay, because we just funded them, and I want to say 6 or 7 months ago, and I don't know if you've had a chance to go back. That's why I'm asking who's vetting this. These are the reasons why I'm asking these questions, because all of that should have been within the application. It should ask you, I'm sure it does, have we funded you before? What was the amount? What period? What programs you put on with that? So if we've already funded you up to a certain point, then you are coming back to request funds again, which you have not because you asked not. So of course you better ask. But again, if you're gonna ask, show us then from what portion are we funding you again? So again, I would ask you to go back and look at that. If what the Board of Commissioners has already appropriated for these entities, has that money been expended, and from what date to what date?
Okay, so yes.
I don't want these to overlap because there are just so many nonprofits out there, churches and others who keep asking us, to Commissioner Goddard and Commissioner Robinson's point, that really, really need this money. And we want to be fair to everybody. We just don't want a couple to monopolize. We want to be able to give and appropriate where we can, because we're all in this together. So just want it to be fair and concise with each entity that asks us. But with that, I yield, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carson. These are the names that came before the board. These are the recipients that actually, these are the participants, should I say, or the applicants that came before the board during our 2022 budgeting process. And these are the ones that were earmarked and this funding that we talked about appropriating. We can go back and look at the minutes for these particular ones. And I agree, we can open it up. I would love to open it up. I think it's a great gesture, something I would like to see going forward. But this is just for this budget period. And then certainly as we go into 2023, we can open it up even further. I hear you, Commissioner Geiger. What did you have something
Yes,
to add?
just one quick comment. We need to be careful about like just the churches. They need to be organizations that serve the community as a whole, such as the Share House, the
Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, and things like that. But we don't want to get into giving money to churches because of we're going to open Pandora's box.
Right. And we do have our traditional list of folks that already are being funded, such as Share House, the Boys and Girls Club.
It's been cut in the past years, and because I used to be on the board there, and it's been cut over the years. So the people that come through there, the number has not been cut. So we need to keep that in mind too. But they are hardworking people over there. I can account for that. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Allen, we just to make sure you get the information in terms of the Douglas County Museum, all the documents that are being requested, and I can help you facilitate that to Commissioner Carthen and Commissioner Robinson before in the morning, and then we can move on. Okay.
I can
Thank
do
you
that.
for,
Madam Chair,
May I just add one more thing? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to add that the application does request what they will be doing with the money. If they've gotten grants in the past, what they did with those monies as well. So that is a part of the application process, but I will get everything to you.
okay. Commissioner Mitchell, thank you so much.
I just, great discussion. I just want to add, Madam Chair, is there a reason why that for 3 years that you had the information and didn't share it? Was it just because you thought that wasn't a request? Or I'm just curious. I mean,
Well, I won't say necessarily me. The information went to the former county administrator as well, the reports. So I would just say, I won't even say 3 years has come to me, came to the former county administrator, which was Mark Teal. And then once he was no longer here, the reports were coming to me. So there was a 4-month window where the reports did not come to me. And now the reports come to Tiffany Stewart Stanley. So I won't say I received the reports for 3 years. So thank you for, that was a misstatement on my part. Those reports came to our county administrator, and that information is available. We can try to pull up as much as we can, maybe at least the last 2 years of the reports from Suzanne Hudson. I'll make sure that our Dr. Allen has that information so she could give it to you all the commissioners. Certainly, Tiffany Stewart Stanley also had access to this information and did know that the board, you don't have all the other reports from the others. To answer your question, Commissioner Mitchell, regarding your question, the other entities have not submitted reports to you either. I have not provided those reports to you. That's, I hope I answered your question.
you're fine. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
But in addition to that, the chamber, I think.
Yeah.
What did we do as a commission that cost then I think $70,000 that they were supposedly given? And please understand, I'm not against it. I'm just trying to understand. I think all of us are trying to understand what is it that they did, or what were they doing, or what were they appropriating as to what they're providing for $70,000? Was it an outing that we did at the Chamber of Commerce, or any of the 501c3s that we're talking about? Because I think I just heard a moment ago that we gave, and I'm just only using the chamber as an example, $70,000. I think unless I misheard the amount, but we'll use that as a number that we gave them that. But I think what my colleagues are trying to say is what did they do for that? But you're saying we just gave them that. Well, help me justify that part, and then I've got my second part to that question.
Well, let me, before I justify anything to you, let me look at some records so I can get the information, and then we'll go from there. Certainly, can we take that offline, because I don't have those numbers before me.
Got it. That's fine. And I'll only say that for Dr. Allen, so she can understand the request. I think.
Okay. And we'll look at those. I don't have the information before me, but they did not receive any funding, the chamber in 2020. But it was something like the chamber, because the luncheons and all that. Let me pull that information together. That's something
I don't know, unless I've got some misinformation though, but I think they did receive funding, and not that I'm against what they received, but based on my recollection and my numbers and the report I've got, I show every bit of $70,000 to almost $100,000 from the numbers in which I've gotten the past 2 years, maybe 3 years now, that that we've actually done without even before, I think Commissioner Carthen came up with this whole justifiably trying to say what they did, who's doing what, how much they're getting and why. And then we went through the whole hotel motel layout. So I get it. But I think Ms. Allen is not getting all the information, and she's coming in at the tail end of the movie versus understanding the entire movie. And I get it. And this is not anything against Dr. Allen. It's just the mere fact that I think she's coming in at the tail end of the movie and trying to understand and try to play catch up. But the movie has already been played, and we're at the end trying to figure out what do we do next, what that next look like. But Dr. Allen, I'm going to send you over a report on which I've received. And I think this commission received this report that I did I think last year sometime. And I'm going to share that with you. And then once you go through those numbers, you'll see that these entities, out to include the three that we're mentioning, the CAC, the old courthouse, and the chamber, have received. And unless, because I can't see there was a function that we did or attended for a table as such that cost $50,000 or $40,000. So I think that'll better get you to understand up to speed to see kind of what spending has transpired, and then we can kind of go from there. Though. But and please understand, I'm not against these entities receiving funds. I just wanted to kind of clarify and justifiably say what these amounts were, and I can only go by the information that I've received, and I'll share it with you, and I'll make sure my aide kind of forward that over to you. But this board is already seeing that information as well. So, and it's nothing that everybody don't know. Last but not least, I beg to differ about churches. I think churches serve the community as well as those that are 501c3, which are churches normally a part of those 501c3. So I would exclude a church, speaking in reference to my colleague in the 4th district. I wouldn't say that. I would say, let's justify what that church is doing and building and dealing in the community, not exclude them because they are a church. So I'll yield there, and we'll wait to see kind of what the outcome, Dr. Allen, as to what you receive and what you do, and kind of account for all of this that we're speaking of. So I yield. Thank you.
Commissioner Mitchell, thank you so
Yes.
much. The wait is over. I just wanted to bring some clarity to you.
Okay.
The money that you see for the chamber was utilized for the TAD. Thank you so much, my Director of Finance. That was for the TAD education project that we did last year in order for this county, in 2020, in order for this county to, I'm glad that that information was out there because we did certainly receive a TAD. Really excited about that. And then also for clarity, there was no operation allocation given to the chamber in 2020.
Okay.
So that was the TAD.
So
I wanted to make sure that was for the TAD education project.
Okay. I mean, I can only go by the data that I received as to what it was for.
Well, we'll send you some more elaborate data from our finance director, but I knew if my memory served me correctly, and that's one thing I do have is a great memory, and I don't remember any funding going to the chamber in 2020. So I will make sure we get that information to you, but thank you so much, Director, our Acting Director of Finance, Rosalind Miller, for refreshing my memory. I knew we had not given any funding, but I forgot about the TAD portion. So thank you. All right, any other discussion, board? And thank you so much, by the way, Dr. Allen. Certainly you were just representing the voice of Tiffany Stewart Stanley due to an emergency. You've only been with us 3 weeks, and I know this was a big task for you today, but thank you for stepping up per her instructions to see if you could just bring this information to the Board of Commissioners, and you did a great job. Thank you. And if you could just work to bring all that information that they need, you really did. Thank you. All right, Board of Commissioners, we're going to move on to tab number 27, which is approval of the real estate purchase agreement and other documents pertaining to the Douglas County Development Authority transaction, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Our legal department. Attorney.
Madam Chair,
Hey.
How are you this morning? Thank you for giving me the opportunity to respond. On Friday, the board authorized the county to move forward with the purchase of land from the Development Authority in connection with a Development Authority project. This is the actual form of agreement that will be used to consummate that transaction. We've been in negotiations with the Development Authority. It's fairly straightforward. There are some tweaks that need to be made, but with the board's approval, we'll be able to move forward with this actual agreement as it was as authorized by the board on Friday.
Any questions for Attorney Coleman? Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you so much, Attorney. We're going to move on to tab number 28, approval of the first quarter projects for the Arpa Technology Fund. We have our Director, Alex Benton-Court. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. As you're aware, last year the board appropriated $1.2 million for the technology Arpa funding for this year. We gathered our project list from the different directors in the different departments, and we compiled that with our own recommendations. We have about at least 32 projects that we're pursuing this year. We presented a project to the Technology Committee last year, and it was approved and moved forward to the budget retreat where it was presented. Last week, the Technology Committee voted to move forward with the first quarter of project, and was recommended to present to the board. And that's what you have before you today.
Any questions, board? Alex, do you by any chance have a list of those projects?
I do. I can send you a copy and the rest of the commissioners as well.
Okay, if you could send us a copy of those projects. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to tab number 29. Approval of an agreement with Media Miracles for media and communications production services in the amount of $100,500 and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Commissioner Carthen, our chairman of the Technology Committee.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is an extension of Media Miracles agreement with the county on last year. They did not expend all of the funds that were set aside for them to help us in 2021. They actually stopped their contract probably midway, but they did do an excellent job. And because we are short-staffed in that area, you and I have been working to see how we can improve that. So I applaud you on that effort. And so we asked, you asked, and I agree because we wholeheartedly needed it, that Media Miracles come back into the fold. So this is part of that agreement that is before the board today for consideration.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Because we also have new technology that's been implemented within our communications department that really we need some additional support, board, and hopefully that you all would support myself and Commissioner Carthen and just all of us as the board members to make sure that our communications department can operate efficiently as we reinvent ourselves with our new equipment that's coming down the pipe. And I know Commissioner Mitchell, who's leading that area, is doing a very good job making sure that we are 21st century, but we do need some help in the meantime. So this is that item, and we will be bringing before you tomorrow for consideration. Next tab is tab number 30, board appointments, Douglas County Travel and Tourism, Board of Health, and that's and the executive. We will discuss that in executive session. So it's 2 board appointments, Douglas County Travel and Tourism, and the Board of Health executives. Board of Commissioners, do we have any other discussion items that need to come before us? Vice Chairman Robinson.
No, I'll keep it short because I know we got to keep going. We're doing good on this. A lot of long agenda, but yet we got through it as well as we could. So I want to come back to the Media Miracles. Again, Madam Chair, I'm just following up on your comment about our communications. So we're already consistent, right? I'll use me as an example. It's not just the technological, how to put new equipment in. That's not what this is. It's thought leadership. It's how we need to think about communication, whether it's media, whether it's online, whatever that is. I don't want to diminish this because we see it with our citizens. They know when our systems go down online. They're out there chatting. My mama tells me that, hey, they went online. They blame us. So let's not, downplay the thought leadership that this team is bringing to us to finish their assignment. Like, no, okay, let's finish this. We can do better. That's one area where we know we can do way better. And we've got to take it to a whole nother level. And so the citizens, this is what that one's about. Is that we know it, you know it. There's nothing that we can hide. They see it firsthand. They're experiencing the same thing we're experiencing on the inside. And it's all about transparency, about the voice getting out there. So when the government goes dark, or it's not consistently communicating out, that you got to prompt press releases. Are we really doing a good job of are we really doing what we should be doing? That's our minimum. Is communicate what we're doing. It's not just to highlight, pat ourselves on the back. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate when people do good work. Yes, we should highlight that stuff, but it's all of it. And so this is about thought leadership. And so I commend you and Madam McCarthy and Mr. Mitchell, all you guys who sort of are looking at this, but I just want to say, well done, good job, but don't marginalize or invalidate the importance of that contract. I yield. Thank you, Madam Chair. Keep going.
Thank you. If there are no other further comments, the Board of Commissioners have certainly will tap our county attorney to see if there's a need to go into executive session. Attorney Coleman, do we need to go into executive session?
Madam Chair, we need to go into executive session for personnel matters and discuss the potential litigation.
Okay, thank you so much. Citizens of Douglas County, the Board of Commissioners will be engaging in our executive session. So I don't have a time frame in which I can promise you, but it'll be sooner than later that we will return. And I appreciate your participation in county government, and we will return momentarily. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion.
Can we take a break, Madam Chair? Can you make
You will you'll take a 10-minute break. Okay, an 8-minute break. It's 1:22. We'll return at 1:30. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. We have a motion and a second. When I call you district, please respond accordingly. District 1. District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 4.
Yes.
Chairman, yes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries to go into executive session. I yield the floor to you, clerk, to move us from here.
You're back live.
All right, thank you so much, Ryan. Citizens of Douglas County, thank you again for your patience. The Board of Commissioners have returned from my executive session. Certainly, Board of Commissioners certainly want to yield an opportunity if you have any further remarks today to make. Certainly, the floor is yours. If not, certainly, citizens of Douglas County, we appreciate your participation in county government. And please remind you that we have a Board of Commissioners meeting tomorrow, which is March 1st at 10 a.m. And it will be a virtual meeting as well. So Board of Commissioners, if there's nothing else to come before this body, this meeting is adjourned, and thank you and have a great day.